because that's not why dance exists. That's not what we used to do around a fire when we first started making fire, when we were, you know, when we started to figure rhythm out and we started to have to move to that rhythm and chant and you know, howl at the sky. And that's not what we were doing. Nobody was sticking their leg up here, holding it and doing 6 pirouettes in tights. That wasn't happening, right? When you are on the dance floor, you're not working on technique. That's not what that is for. You are allowing your brain to learn how to have the license to do whatever the fuck you want to do in that moment as it occurs to you. I remember when I stopped traveling, because I was doing the Congress circuit for 4 years, right? 2000 to 2004. And then I shut it down. 2004 was the height of my popularity. Everybody was like, what? And you can't leave now, whatever, we love you. And I was like, yeah, you love me now. And I know you love me now. But you're going to get tired of me. No, we're always going to love you. Where are those people right now? Just decide I'm going to be an asshole, you know?
Right, yeah.
Or I'm going to be, traumatized and on the verge of like PTSD because of what scene is doing to you.
Right.
There's stuff going on, you know. There's stuff going on that we're not always in control of.
Like, it's funny enough. Like, I guess I could say here, I don't really care, but you mentioned how you're talking about trance and EDM music, how like there's like a rhythm and you're like really getting really primal and like connecting to the drum, like your internal drum. And then you mentioned like, oh, and these kids are also popping pills or whatever, and I kind of cringe. I'm like, fuck, that's like kind of me. But like, I saw an example where like, yeah, this guy's like off his rocker, but I remember talking to one of our instructors, and I was like, hey, like, I realized if you truly understand someone, like let's say some crazy person or someone has mental illness or someone, you know, that doesn't maybe fit the mold of society, if you truly try to understand them in their full context, you can't hate or really judge them.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, we all have our stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff is there for a good reason. It's not like I said, they're not decisions we make. We don't realize how much we are beholden to the environmental factors, the conditions that are conditioning you, that you don't necessarily have control of having had or not had those experiences. And it puts you in a certain frame of mind. And that frame of mind is, I'm seeing the result of that. I would say, like, you know, everything that we've ever done in our lives has led us to this moment right here, right? Yes. And so if we were to start here, it would be super like otherworldly.
It wouldn't make sense.
That somehow all the things I did in my life then landed us here. But that is always the case, right? At any given moment, you're reflecting what you are at that moment. And that's what I love about this end of the spectrum in terms of dance, is that, you know, like I can show you what I am right now, this moment. And once you get comfortable doing that, you start realizing that that's all anybody can do. You know, I would say you make a mistake, you're making the mistake that a person with your level of understanding would make. That you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, right? Yeah. And so, you know, if I were doing something in the dance and I'm doing something wrong and my body just wants to do that thing and it's hard for me to correct it, and I look a certain way and I don't want to look that way, you know, you can fight to kind of change it, but there's a reason why your body's going there, right? And something may need to click in the way you conceive of things, and it may not come from you directly dealing with the thing. It may come from the periphery of understanding other things. And then all of a sudden you're a different person, and that person isn't as bound to function that way as you were before, you know?
Is there a process like to like navigate that as someone new as a student? Like, is, I guess an example one of our instructors would say is like, you know, like during a 2-hour class, like I might have to explain something 1,000 different ways because not everyone's going to process this one simple lesson the same way. So in that given time frame, they try to explain it multiple ways in hopes of reaching as many people as possible within that session.
In Zen, they say that the second that you verbalize something, you collapse it into a single line of thinking that can't be true, right? Okay. In other words, it denies so much of the entire reality that it's already false, right? Because we've collapsed all of reality into a communicable thread.
Right.
And so even just to give you more layers of what the truth is, I have to hit you with different, and different people will resonate with different points in the perspective. But there is no singular thing that would equal what I'm trying to get you to understand. Language doesn't have that capacity, right? Language is limited. And that's why we do things like dance, right? It's like because it's beyond the limits of language.
Right.
So yeah, you have to do that. I do that all the time. I'll give you the math of it. I'll give you the percussive representation. I'll try to, and all those things are simultaneously true. It's like the quantum physics of the thing. They simultaneously are and sometimes the exact opposite is also a truth, a part of that truth,
Right.
My partner, Leah, she, like, in teaching, she'll ask me, I explain this to so-and-so in this capacity, and today you kind of said the opposite. And so she would ask me, am I wrong to tell them this? And she's telling them what she's come to understand through what I've told her. And I said, no, that day, that almost 180 line of part of the truth is what I decided to collapse reality into for that moment. But both things are simultaneously true. Like you have to come to grips with what that means, through understanding. But no, you're not wrong. It's not that simple. Stuff is not that simple.
Right. Okay. Well, we should do our intro. Sorry, but it happened very seamlessly. So, Jose, you want to start it off?
Awesome. Well, I just joined in the conversation. Just wanted to listen and see where you guys were at. Thank you, Frankie, for coming on, man. I know you're a busy man, but we saw you were coming to AZ, and we had to hit you up, see if we could make it happen. And so I am very grateful that you're here.
Yeah, Jose, like you really, before we finished our last episode earlier today, and you're like, man, like Frankie really needs like a podcast, and because people can't get enough of you, honestly, like so whether good, they want to admit it or not, like really.
You don't know how much, because I'm always talking crap. It's just always in
even your haters,
you know what I mean?
Even your haters, like, take it for what it is. Like, they want to listen.
They want to listen.
And,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like the necessity is there. People are thinking some of these things and they're afraid to verbalize them, or they just didn't think about it that way. They just weren't
exposed to it
from their perspective.
Yeah.
They go, we go, they go, we go. That's the saying used to be, she goes, I go, she goes, I go, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we get away at this point from the gender implication, right? So, but they go, we go, they go, we go, right? That the follow is the beginning of the measure. There's a reason why too, right? Because the crossbody lead hits on the one, on the upswing in the bar, right? 1, 2, 3. The explosion of the basic step of the basic crossbody lead, opening on 1, 1, 2, 3, right? And they come across. That explosiveness you lose in any other iteration of the dance. If I flip it and I have the lead going forward on 1, 2, 3, all I have when the music changes is a basic step going towards my partner, and then all of a sudden I'm exploding into a crossbody lead, and I missed the change. Musical change, right? And so the follow is turning, kinko, kinko, the lead is turning, bam, 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 to kinko, 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 call and response, right? It's a musical construct. And so the follow turning is the initial movement, right? It's the initial part of the phrase. They do their part of the phrase. In other words, they sing the chorus, I sing back up, right? They sing the chorus, I sing back up, right? Right? That's their turns, and then my turn, and their turns, and my turn. You're not just turning. When you start turning random gibberish, the musicians, what are you doing? Where's the call and response? Where are the things that are inherent to this cultural dance, right? That's an important thing. They call it pregones, right? The call and response, where, especially when there's soneos, where the lead singer is improvising their verse, right? So you improvise the verse, and then you have the chorus sing the chorus, and then you improvise the verse, and they sing the chorus, right? You have to improvise in a very specific way. There are rules, right? I can't encroach on their measure, I have to finish my phrase in the time allotted to me. And that's the game. Those are the rules of the game, right? That makes that makes you skillful, because you have to say what you want to say, but you got to say it. It's got to fit this phrase. It's freestyle rapping, right? It's rhyming. You know, the cadence, the phrasing, the word has to have the right syllables to resolve the phrase, you know? And that's why it's so hard to do that, right? It's such a skill. It's such a jazz skill to be able to, off the cuff, rhyme words and get them. You have to do a lot of writing and a lot of practicing and a lot of gain a lot of repertoire to be able to like spit that way, right? So those are things that are inherent to there's not, you know, there aren't a lot of other art forms that present that. And so why would we ignore? That's our thing, man. That's what we do. That's what our musicians do. That's what our music does. And depending on the structure of the music, you get different rules and different elements that are being applied. And those things need to be respected. They should be reflected in the dance. It helps people make the connection, right? When they're learning the dance, because the dance makes mathematical sense to someone who's learning it. When I collapse all possibilities to say 9 possibilities, right? Which there are 9 patterns of footwork for the follow in the way Eddie Torres teaches his methodology, right? There's 9 patterns of footwork. That means whatever I'm asking you, however I'm doing it, it's always going to be one of those. I'm really just asking you for one of those 9 responses, footwork wise, right? There's so many ways that I can, you know, be holding you and initiate that request, but I'm asking you for one of those 9. 6 of them you're going to do on a regular basis, and 3 or 4 of them are going to pop up every once in a while, right? So what that does is it makes the game more comprehensive now, right? Because I know that you just can't hit me with whatever the hell you want to hit me with. I know how to look for the things that I'm going to expect to happen to me, right? And so that's the dance, right? The dance is the language. You're trying to teach somebody a language. You're rewiring their brain to understand these rules and to communicate through these rules. There should be rules. Otherwise, there's no reason to classify any dances as being, you know, separate from any other dance. Dance is just dance. It doesn't matter what music is on. As long as you can move around to it, then it's valid. And so who cares about the actual, you know, structure of tango and what it implies, or who cares about the structure of mambo and what it actually implies, because we're not using any of that stuff, right? We're just doing randomness to 4/4 music, 4/4 timing. And because it's possible, we shove it in there. And we're not considering the identity of the dance, what makes it what it is, rhythmically, musically, culturally. Because to tell you the truth, that's all the cool stuff, right? Like there's nothing cooler than call and response. Like anybody from any walk of life that sees that and simultaneously is hearing that in the song understands what they're looking at, right? Yeah. Whereas you're just doing gibberish with a song playing in the background, and people will go, wow, that's cool, but it's not resonating, right? It's not making sense. It's the difference between you banging on a drum any which way you want to bang on a drum because you came up with some cool stuff to bang on the drum, lift a drum, and you actually learning how to create comprehensive phrases that when you hear them, they make sense, and they make sense to everyone, right? Not just to you because you learned the drum, but when I hear your sensical phrase, I can tell it's not gibberish, right? I can hear it's not gibberish.
Can you explain what your method of like an alternative way of thinking that? Can you explain? Yeah, what's different than what you see out there typically?
Yeah, I don't teach linearly, right? So yeah. I teach non-linearly. I teach like they teach in in Eastern disciplines. Okay. So there's no goal setting. There's no like you have to learn these 5 moves before going to level 2 to learn the next 5 moves. It doesn't work that way, right? The movements are examples of concepts. And so at the beginner level, what I do is I teach material that is understandable by someone who is at that level of understanding. In other words, If you come in off the street, you should be able to chew on the stuff that I'm giving you there. It doesn't mean that this is the stuff that means that you're going to graduate from that material to a different level of material. It means that that's where we practice the material, the elements that are understandable at the ground floor of understanding, right? Okay. And I had this thing about not saying intermediate, a beginner, intermediate, advanced, right? Because universally, in the larger perspective, for us, the way we look at those titles, that strata, is that beginner is you're in the process of gathering information about how the dance functions, right? Intermediate level is you are actively applying those things in a practical sense. You are applying the mechanisms of the dance, right? And then at the advanced level, you're applying those things to your life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to instruction, technical instruction, we say level 1, level 2, level 3. And level 1 just means the stuff is understandable by anybody. Level 2 means that we're going to up the material to a point where you're going to need to understand a little more and be able to function in a different category. And level 3 is we're going to be working on, concepts and ideas more than we're going to be working on physical execution of stuff, right? So what happens is that I don't expect you to be here for a year. I expect you to be doing this for the rest of your life. So I'm setting you up, and then all my students will come to the level 1 class. They all come to level 1, right? Along with the beginners. When they come to level 1, I tell them to go in the back, and the people that are new are in the front. Once we get to level 2, you flip it. The seniors are in the front, and the juniors are in the back. The seniors in the front, not because they earned a spot, but because they need to learn that their practice isn't just for them, that their practice is for everyone. It's for everyone. Your practice is not just for you. You practice for everyone, right? I practice because of the work that I did by myself in some basement somewhere. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here on the couch with you, and people are listening to us talk about stuff because I took the time to work on myself at some point, right? And people from Africa send me a message and say, "You're the reason I dance," and right? Thank goodness I took care of business. Like I took care of working on myself and continue to do so. Yeah. But now I think about those people when I'm practicing. Now I know that I got to practice. They make me want to practice more, right? Right. Not for me, but because you never know how you're going to affect someone, And so what I do is I represent that in the class by making the students that are starting to understand stuff acutely aware of the fact that they are now examples for the people that don't, right? And so they have to be disciplined in a different way because they're being observed, right? Right. They are they're not just, their practice isn't just for them anymore. It's for the people behind them that are trying to understand what's going on. Right. So, and then slowly, I always tell people, if you can do the basic step and fry an egg at the same time without burning the house down, then you should start messing around with level 2, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is I then use patterns to discuss concepts. The pattern exists. The pattern takes care of the people that are there for patterns. But what I do is I keep kind of planting these seeds about why the pattern functions the way it functions and what I'm doing, why I made the decisions, right? Not just to come up with something cool, but like I start to put in, mechanically, musically, I drop these little crumbs, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether you get the pattern or not, you're a different individual for having sat through and tried it, right? Okay. It's never the point for them to get the pattern. The point is for them to put their bodies through it. And what's going to happen is as they keep doing that, these things come back around and they start to recognize them. They have a second chance at figuring it out. And after a while, it's like, well, yeah, this is just that, right? Then you start to make parallels oh, and this is the same as the concept that he said, and as this and this and this and that, right? And so you have all these options now that kind of have the same through line, that are the same idea, that function in the same way, and you have a choice of which one of these you can use in a given circumstance, right? Because at the end of the day, I want them to be conditioned to be unconditioned, right? I want to condition concepts, but I never want to condition execution. I don't want execution to come out a specific way. I want them to be free and fluid enough for that to come out the way it needs to come out in that particular moment. And you start to get what the possibilities are mechanically in terms of going somewhere to say the same thing, how you can vary something. If you have a series of notes and you know that series of notes are operating within a certain chord, and that chord makes sense for a good reason. And if I'm going to improvise, I got to use the notes that are inherent in that chord so that the improvisation will make sense, right? So I have parameters that I got to deal with. I can't just play whatever the hell I want to play. I got to play in the right key. I got to play on the right scale. I got to play from the chords that we're using, so that when I decide to change a note or bend a note, I'm in the ballpark, right? I'm not going off into left field and I'm off key all of a sudden, or I'm flat, or my voice is jumping into some range that it has no business going there from what we set up, right? And so musicians have a way that they learn their craft. I always look at drummers and the way drummers have to go through this process of learning the stuff they do, and they have to take a long time going through making sounds clean and understanding rhythm structures and slowly varying. These are variations that are possible, but it is never expected for you. And we can do combinations of variations and change rhythms. But when you're playing in a band and a musical director gives you that sheet of music, this is what the song's going to be, right? This is not what I did in class. Nobody gives a damn, right? This is what the song is, right? You should be in a position to be fluid enough to deal with this. And that's what they're preparing a drummer to do. And they don't just teach you the conga, they teach you, and you don't just do salsa, right? You have to learn how to do son. You got to learn how to play Afro. You got to learn how to play Mozambique. You got to learn how to play little bomba. Because if I decide I want to do a bomba transition in the middle of this, you need to be able to be there. If you need to swing the basic tumbao, right? They have this thing they do when you kind of go into like blues or R&B, you take the tumbao and you swing it, right? And it kind of changes the rhythm structure of the strokes to give it a little bit more as opposed to right? They call it swinging the pattern, right? So there's all this stuff that's involved, and then we go and like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 becomes all we do. And nobody teaches you that there's another, like, this is the song change rhythm here. Like this is Afro. When that comes on, you shouldn't be doing 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. At least show me, acknowledge that you heard there was a rhythm change, right? Because if you were in that band, you can't just keep going with what you were doing. The whole band changed to Afro now, right? You have to play your Afro pattern. We're doing a caballo rhythm, right? Right? We all have to change. Piano's got to change and do their piano thing. Right? We have to change to our caballo rhythm. We have to change to our café con pan, to our wawango. We have to learn those things so that when we're there, we have those options, right? There are exercises that I have to do in order to develop certain skills. And if I want those skills, I got to do the exercises. And once I get the skill, I got to do the exercise, right? Because I have to deepen it. I have to deepen my understanding. I have to transcend it until the skill dissolves and it goes away and I'm no longer beholden to it. I'm free again, right? That's what we were talking about in the car, about getting back to zero, right? Going back to the beginning, the black belt turning white, right? The beginner's mind again being the end result, the stillness being the highest form of movement, silence being the highest form of music. It's transcending all this stuff ultimately so that you can do this for the rest of your life, so that it keeps being fulfilling because you keep moving. And it's not about, who dances what style or what their style is. And my style is better than your style. I don't like your style. They don't like, nobody likes your style. Who gives a crap about your style is in flux,
You
bro.
can cuss. Like we cuss all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. He's like, I don't care. I'm still gonna
Good. Your style is in flux, baby. Like you think you I don't walk the same as I walked when I was 16 years old. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, you don't want to.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what are you supposed to like? What do you think is happening here? You know,
Yeah.
like the you know, I had when I look back at videos when I was like super duper popular, right? Most solicited dancer on the planet. It was like the Beatles, right? Everybody's wearing white shoes. Everybody's, you know, they were calling me for events. Like my manager couldn't keep up with the requests, right? If my name wasn't on the flyer, you didn't have a legitimate event. Like people were putting my name on the flyer before they even called me because they, you know, it's like, we got to have them here. You know, it was mayhem. I look back at those videos and I don't know who that kid is. Like, I don't know that kid. That kid doesn't exist anymore. That kid doesn't exist anymore, right? It was cute, right? But I've come so far since then. Miles Davis, right? Miles Davis started to get into rarefied air where he was leaving people behind, right?
Yeah.
And you just couldn't understand where he was going anymore, right? But he had to go. Miles had to go there. I got to go there. You can't tell him to stay here for you, right? You have those recordings. Be grateful you have those recordings. Go listen to that stuff. It's fine. Miles got to keep moving, right? That's going to be my t-shirt. Miles got to keep moving, right?
Right.
He got on stage and it was noise to us, you know, damn. Other musicians, man, you don't understand what he's doing. He's cutting eighth notes and cutting, you know, it's like he's doing stuff. He's making magic. Like, and the other musicians understand it, can't go there, but they get it.
Right.
But he's got the nuggets to go there, right? Because he's got to go there. Leave me alone. I gotta go places, you know? That inspires me. You know, It doesn't inspire me that you got to, you know, that was the whole thing. Me growing up in the 80s and the 90s, it was like, you don't sell out. You can't sell out. Can't sell out. I'm not going from hard rock to disc jock, right? You know, can't go R&B, can't go pop. Got to stay hardcore. This is what we do. This is what we're about. Can't sell out for the money all we do now is sell out. Like the sellout is the name of the game now.
Yeah,
right?
That's the end goal.
Now, this is how you make money. This is what you got to do to make money. So if you don't do this, you're an idiot because we got the formula. The formula is there for you. The roadmap is there for you to follow. And all you got to do is follow the formula. You just got to follow it as good as the best people following the formula. And when the formula changes, good luck, right? Because you have no capacity, right? You have to commit to that formula. And now you're right when the formula leaves you behind and they need a younger, fresher, you know, prettier package.
What
right?
happens?
Because your skin's going to start sagging.
Yeah.
Pops, right? Your eyes going to start getting puffy. You're going to start looking bloated.
Yeah.
You're going to get creases in your eyes. And maybe nobody wants to see you the same way anymore, right? These young kids want to see pretty young people that they want to be, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, but then what do? You try to appease them by fixing your eyes and fixing the problem, or do you continue that journey and continue discovering where you're going? And then later on, you know, generations later, people go, look what this person was, you know, 100 years ahead of their time, because everybody's now starting to catch up to the fact that was where we all wanted to go anyway.
Right.
You know, that's what I come from. I remember when I stopped traveling, because I was doing the Congress circuit for 4 years, right? 2000 to 2004. And then I shut it down. 2004 was the height of my popularity. Everybody was like, what? You can't leave now, whatever, we love you. And I was like, yeah, you love me now. And I know you love me now. But you're going to get tired of me. No, we're always going to love you. Where are those people right now?
Not around.
Where are those people right now?
Having kids.
You know what I'm saying? Having kids.
Yeah. That's it.
Retirement homes. No. You know, like those, no, we're going to love you forever. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I'm not going to take your word for it. Right. I got to make sure I'm okay. Yeah. I have things I want to do. And this Salsa Congress thing feels like it's burning itself out right now. Right. This is 2004, 20 year ago. Right.
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah. Right. Oh,
right? God. So I was like, this is going to burn itself out. I was going to multiple events. there were multiple events on the same weekend in the same city, right?
That's insane.
And I was seeing the same people from one weekend to another that were hopping events. And I'm like, they're like, what show are you going to do? And I'm like, why do you think you would know the show that I'm going to like, which one you're going to do? So that they could decide if they should come to the shows early. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Okay, I seen that one already, so I'm going to sleep in, like, people to this day,
that
hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed.
I had a bachata artist.
Yeah.
What show you gonna do tonight? You dancing tonight? I said, yeah, I'm dancing just now in Chicago. What show you gonna do? You don't know it. It's a bolero. You gonna do a bolero? Just the whole air came out of the room. You gonna do a bolero? By yourself or with a partner? No, by myself. Oh. Short circuit. Right?
Yeah.
Malfunction. I could see it in his eye. I was smiling. I was waiting for the elevator. We both walked into the elevator, and he had about 4 minutes where he was like rebooting.
Yeah.
And it was like, because it's funny with me, like, and because I do a lot of old, I that stuff, those are my hits, right? Greatest hits. I do a lot of stuff. So, but back in the day, it was like, why do you think the thing I'm gonna do? What if I do something different? But problem was, I was going to another country, and so I'm thinking I'll do the same. I'll do the same show. And here comes this couple. They were just in, Prague, and I'm seeing them in Milan, and I'm like, oh crap, they're gonna see the same show.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna go to sleep, right? And I'm like, man, you know what? These people are gonna get tired of me. I'm getting tired of them. Like I'm like, you again? Like, don't you have a job? It's like. So
really good one.
Damn.
Apparently.
That's kind of crazy. You run into that. Though.
Yeah.
Like,
and so I started thinking. You start thinking 5 years down the road, and I'm like, this is getting a little shaky. I don't know if I can really bank on this because if they get tired of me, I don't have a choice. If they stop calling, I just get thrown away, right? I just get put, and nobody gives a crap, right? Nobody gives a shit. Who's going to care that, like, all they care about is what they're in and who's there. Oh, I want to see this person. I like her hair, right? It's like, I can't control that stuff. So I wanted to do dance theater stuff. I knew that if I could produce something that was sophisticated and culturally artistic at a high level, that everybody going to want to, white people are going to want to pay money to go sit down, buy a ticket and watch something that's cultural and something that's artistic, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about whether they think Latin music is in vogue at the moment or whether my style is valid at the moment. I don't worry about that, right? We're going to do something long format. You got to sit in a theater. We got lighting, we got costumes, we got, sound production, boom, right? That was the world that I started to move in, right? For 16, 17, 18 years, right?
Yeah, I'm going to chime in. I'm going to ask, like, at the height of your popularity, like, was it just seeing other artists that saw, like, your old bits or, like, previously within the week that kind of hit you where you're like, oh, crap, like, I'm repeating the same thing and it's only downhill from here? Like, did the height and the popularity ever, like, get to your head where, like...
I remember the moment that we realized, oh shit, like this is like we're doing it, right? Like I remember we were in Denver.
Who do you mean by we?
Me and Aisha were in Denver. I was supposed to be dancing with a dancer named Brenda Bird. That was the plan. Right? Henry Knowles, my manager, he was a world famous DJ, produced a lot of albums and artists at the time. He's been DJing since way back. And he used to be the premier DJ at the Copacabana in the 70s and the 80s. And he did, I think, at the Corso before that. But he was around for a long time. And he was managing Eddie Torres' dance company towards the end, pardon me. And so he was with us when I first left the country. It was to go to Milan with Eddie. And we went out there. We did a couple of performances and stuff. So Henry was with us and we were close with him. He was like a superstar to us. His roommate was Mark Anthony's road manager. And I met Mark Anthony because of that in Hawaii, because we just happened to be in Hawaii at the same time. And Henry told him where we were going to be one night. And he stopped by, he saw us. He told me that Cha-Cha-Cha I did was unbelievable. We took pictures together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. But so Henry was like, I got a plan for you to be world famous. You and Brenda are going to travel as representatives for Eddie Torres' style, because Eddie couldn't travel at the time. It was when the whole traveling thing was becoming a thing. And of course, we got to get Eddie out there, but Eddie couldn't travel because he was having these horrible back problems. Couldn't get on a plane, all that stuff. And so we got to, like, he needs to be out there. His method needs to be out there. His ideas need to be out there. And Brenda wasn't dancing with her partner anymore. And she said she didn't want to do it anymore unless it was with me. And so that kind of started off. But then Brenda like disappeared in the middle of us preparing and like went back to school, moved to Florida. She just made decisions about her life and boom, she was gone. And so I got stuck. We got stuck with a gig and I had to quickly teach Aisha the number. Me and Aisha had done a couple of things alone before the Brenda idea came up. And so we just kind of went with that material and everybody fell totally in love with her. And it was like, this, you know, this is how it's going to happen now. Right. But so we were in Denver early on. We were doing a number called Baranga by Tito Rodriguez. It was like the first thing I choreographed for us as a duet, or maybe the second. And I remember them making us do it again on the last night of the event because it was so, it was so impactful there, right? And the second time we did it, this woman came over to me with a camcorder. This is how far back we're talking.
Camcorder?
With a camcorder.
He
right?
has no idea what that
This
is.
heavy.
Hey, I did get to see it. My parents had one, dude.
Wow.
I saw one at the museum once.
For real.
Museum of Natural History.
Yeah.
She sits down with the camcorder, older woman, and she says, "Watching you, it makes me feel like when I was young, when I was watching Fred Astaire." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I watched the video. She showed me the video of the performance, and it blew me away. Like it bugged me out, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and just like the swell, like the fact that they by popular demand they had to bring us back to do that number again. We ended up doing 3 performances. They wanted to see the first one again. I got overwhelmed and like really nervous all of a sudden, like, oh man, like this is for real happening.
Okay.
And the weight of it felt intense, you know, like I got panicked. You know what's funny? When I was 16, I was offered a comic book contract to draw comics because I used to do cartooning. And I would like, you know, I would do comic book characters and stuff like that. And I was always at lunch doodling. And there was a security guard there that saw me doodling. And he had a friend who worked for a comic book company. And he was like, "Let me get one of those drawings. I'll bring it back to you." He takes it to the guy. He comes back and he says, "Yo, this guy loves your stuff." He said, "If you just give him 5 characters like this, they'll pay you $200 a page, blah, 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 all this stuff." Right. And I was like, "Are you serious?" But it was funny because I was like, "Oh my God, this is a dream." But it was I got so much anxiety about it. And I just never, you know, I kept making excuses and I never gave him the characters. Right. And that I always refer to that because like you know, the whole be careful what you wish for and like do you really know what you're asking for? And are you ready for the responsibility when it is a possibility, when it's within your grasp?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how anybody else is, but that shit was heavy. Like I felt like, oh crap, like I really seriously have to do this now. Like, and this is the thing, like, this is my life now. Like, you know, it was huge. It was huge. It was like, people are really responding to my ideas. Holy crap. Like it was really intense, you know? And I always felt that a little bit. I always felt like every time somebody said something, this extra responsibility and extra anxiety and like, man, like I gotta keep working hard and I gotta keep like coming through for these people. And it starts to get harder because then when you're there for a while and things are expected of you, there's no chance at all. There's no room for error anymore, right? You're in this place where it's like, you know,
you feel confined.
People start to give you compliments like, "No, man, you're going to blow these guys. Wait till they see you." And it's like, oh shit, wait till they see me. What if I don't feel good? You know, it's like, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, don't put that on me right now. You know, it's extra stuff. But really at that time I was settled in. By the time we left, I was settled in. I was comfortable, but I just was outgrowing the audience, right? I had things I wanted to do and I wanted to do it to a broader audience. I wanted to get people that weren't also dancers, right? I think we talked about the last time we talked about how, unique it is for us to primarily be performing for other people involved in the art form. That's what we do. We dance for other dancers, right?
Kind of easy.
It's kind of weird. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird, you know, as a musician to only play for other musicians, like other people that are either studying music, and that's all you perform for.
Yeah. It's like an echo chamber.
Yeah. So what happens is they're looking at you for very different reasons. You know, they're looking for, do I want to take class with this person? Do I want to be like this person? Do I want to, it's like they're getting information, they're gleaning information about how to continue their thing, and a lot of times they're also jumping on stage, they just start at a different time. They jump on stage and you come down, you watch them. And it's like this weird, like almost like incestual, like the genes aren't getting propagated outside. They're just being recycled inside this chamber. It's like, I have people telling me, oh, I didn't understand what you did. Like you did, and I didn't understand it. And I'm thinking, you don't understand it. If I do that outside in the theater to the general public, everybody's like, oh my God, you're so talented. It was so amazing. It was beautiful. I've never seen anything like that. In the salsa community, I didn't understand it because it's not within the box of what they expect to see. And they just can't see it for what it is. They have to look at it in comparison to what they think it's supposed to be. Like there's no way for them to like deviate. It's like machines. That's why, I kind of look at it as robots, because the funny thing is, if you thought that was bad back then, now with everybody's eyes glued to their phone and the stuff that's being fed to them through that phone, it's intensifying the homogenization of the conditioning, right? Because especially if something's viral, the amount of eyeballs is off the chain now, right? It's not like even watching the Super Bowl, you get a certain amount of viewers, but you're talking about like these people all around the world seeing the same thing. I remember people getting on me for not explaining anything in the isolation practice, which is like almost like a yoga class, where I don't explain any of the stuff verbally. I'm explaining it ad nauseum, like screaming at the wind with my body, but there's no verbal explanation, because that's not the time for verbal explanation. All the verbal explanation happens in the other classes, right? And then I hearken back to, this is what this exercise is developing, and this is how, we would actually apply it, but this is where we work on it viscerally with our bodies, corporally. This is how we dig in without all the madness of you having to get cognitive about it, because once again, I can get you to understand it. I promise you I can get you to understand it cognitively. That is not going to help your dancing, right? It's not guaranteed that just because you understand it in your brain that you're going to be able to use it functionally and in all the ways that it can be used. That takes time. That takes you stumbling onto it yourself. And my job is to trick you to walk into that wall of realization, right? Not to give you the information and hand it to you, but for you to like, oh shit, like discover it. Then when you discover it, it's yours, right? If I hand it to you, oh yeah, so it works like this and works like that and works like this. And I can even tell by the way people come back with their re-explanation of my explanation that they didn't understand it, It's like, no, that's not exactly what I'm saying. Like that part, it's those things are formulas. They work in that environment. People have a good time. They get to move around. They get a video out of it. They get to participate in a thing. They get exposure to a teacher for an hour. And then they go from teacher to teacher, one teacher contradicting the other, boom, 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 boom. Doesn't matter. It's like you're going through this gauntlet of like entertainment moments. But there's a way that it's done. Especially now, there's a way that it's done, and people bug out to see something completely outside of that spectrum, especially if you want to be like verbal about things and you want to have discussions about things as the only one that does it. Maybe I'm the only one that does it. And if I'm the only one that does it, you talk a lot. You're the only one that talk a lot. I want to go jump around. We'll go jump around. There's plenty of places to put. Everybody else is jumping around. Why would I also make you jump around if everybody else is jumping around? Can't we have a moment one moment where we can sit down and talk about stuff, you know, so that, again, the people that would benefit from that, like you probably, can have a moment to participate in that, as opposed to like, man, everything's jumping around. If I were jumping around too, everybody would say, oh man, everybody's always jumping around. You can't win, right? This like is
Right.
it always depends on somebody's feelings getting hurt for a second, you know, because maybe they don't understand what you're saying, or you're opening up a door that I don't want to know about that, right? I'm having a good time right now. I feel like a cool person. I'm getting girls. I don't want to like, don't put me in a position where I have to feel inferior. I don't want to deal with that, you know?
Can I?
And I get it. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Add something. As a student in my journey, after like maybe 2 years learning the social dance or just dance in general, I realized that the concepts were universal. Like the concepts are almost primary. And a lot of the beginners are not ready for the concepts, but it is always good to sprinkle them in, because there's a seed that is, or a container that you're providing as a teacher, that will allow for the student to see as like the goal in a way, and they through the time can understand that they are filling that container up through their experiences. And when it comes to workshops, I think there's something that I would tell people that would ask me if they want to learn. I would always tell myself, look for the feeling. Don't try to replicate the movement, because your body is not ready for the movement itself. You have to capture the feeling so you know how it feels, or you get a sentience or a hint of the direction you're needing to go. And so you, through the experience, you allow yourself or you allow your body to replicate that feeling into the expression. So stop going into a workshop and stop trying to replicate what's being taught. Look for the nuance, for the feeling underneath it all, and now you can take that and go do what you want to do with it, and you evolve. It's leaps versus incremental little repetitions.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say that the steps, the physical stuff is always a packaging that's carrying this prize inside, you know, and we tend to fall in love with the packaging, you know, the step, the technique, the physical application is delivering information. That information is the important thing. That information will free you. It shouldn't confine you to the delivery mechanism that was used to get it to you, right? The basic step itself is just a delivery mechanism, right? It's just a way to get you to understand something about the way Latin music functions and the way your body's going to function within Latin music. And so you learn that basic march, right? The same way you learn a tumbao, a basic tumbao. You got to learn that tumbao first. But when you understand it, when you look at like the great drummers and you look at the way they decide to like pop into a song, it doesn't look like anything you learned, right? I always talk about the advanced basic step, right? Because it's almost unrecognizable, right? And everybody is so now locked into doing the basic step in such a like grotesquely specific way all the time, right? Where it's like, oh my God, like let it go, right? Like you, if you get it, let it go. You're so bound by this singular manifestation of this thing because you think that somehow. I had a guy tell me, he's a great dancer. I respect him a lot. He respects me a lot. He said something, and I was like, what are you talking about? I taught a cha-cha-cha class, and he said, do you tell people that what you're teaching is not really cha-cha-cha, it's like your cha-cha-cha? And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he was like, well, because that's not like you were doing all this body movement. That's not cha-cha-cha. And I was like, really? It isn't? That's news to me. You know what I mean? Like, was I supposed to wear a suit? Would that have been better? It's got to work in a suit. Like it was so off the wall and so like, don't think broad. Like, what are you doing? Like, think narrow. Why would you think broad? Like, what is that? Like, you know, I was blown away by the simplicity of the slavery that was being, right? Like, you're a slave, bro. You don't even realize it.
I want to ask you
Yeah.
that, because this is literally what I've been thinking about for like the past 2 weeks. We mentioned this also earlier in the podcast, but I think of technique as a facilitator of expression. It's meant, you're supposed to learn the rules so that you can confine yourself into a specific frequency or a specific way of expression, and you have to be able to fill that container. And then once you have filled it, you can go out, and now you can use that. You can almost break the rules and almost use that as a platform to launch yourself from as an expressive dancer.
Exactly.
And so what I have seen over the years and over my time just looking deep into the culture of the social dancing community is the emphasis of technique, the emphasis on the lines, emphasis on performance, emphasis almost on achievement. And there is no room for raw expression unless you get it right. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's almost like, as a student, I want to be able to express myself all the time.
Right.
And I also want to be able to understand the rules, and I want to do it all at the same time. So there's almost this paradox, right? Between, okay, when do we let go of technique, and what role does technique play in the overall journey as in dance?
That's an awesome question. That was a question. There was a question in there. Right? When I took ballroom classes, they taught me rise and fall in the waltz. Did I say this in the last one? They taught me rise and fall. No. Did I?
You said in the Jürgen one. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Rise and fall in the waltz. They told me, we're going to practice rise and fall. You're going to practice it in the studio. You're never going to try and do it when you're dancing. When it's ready, it'll come out on its own. The Cubans, the musicians, they say you can't force skill. Skill comes when it comes, right? So what happens? You have a time for focusing on technique. You go to the studio and you work technique. When you are on the dance floor, you're not working on technique. That's not what that is for. You are allowing your brain to learn how to have the license to do whatever the fuck you want to do in that moment as it occurs to you. That's what you're practicing there on the dance floor, right? What happens is, slowly but surely, those two things will marry on their own. And what happens to you when you're in the trance will start to make sense at higher and higher levels of articulation, of being articulate and of being expressive. But that's why we have modes of practice, right? That's why I don't talk in the isolation class, because it's not the time to worry about what your brain thinks you're supposed to be doing at any given moment. Focus your eyes, feel what I'm trying to get you to feel, and put your body through it, and shut your mouth for a second, right? Don't use your ears today for this. Use your skin to get this information today. Tomorrow we'll do the ears part. And slowly but surely, we keep working these things. You keep working these things, and they keep informing each other. You keep having peripheral understanding, peripheral information. You have aha moments in different facets of your practice, and you keep doing it. I had seen a documentary, a story. It was a news story. I think it was 60 Minutes. And they were talking about a specific degenerative brain disease that this doctor was specifically treating. And he would make them do artwork throughout their treatment. And towards the end of life, every single one of them started to produce the most amazing artwork, right? And he started to show examples of the artwork, and you couldn't believe how incredible this stuff was. All of them started to go there. And it was because whatever was happening to their brain as they were dying was unlocking something that was normally, the keys were not present. The combination wasn't known before that, right? And it's like, it's there. we all have access to. That's why I talk about this music, this stuff, reminding us of where we come from, of what we really are, of our primitiveness. And that's everybody, right? That's everyone, not just for the elite, not just for the flexible, not just for the people that have predisposition for technical acumen, not just for them, but if you're a human being, then it's for you too, right? And if it's exclusive that way, then it's not worth a fuck in my book. It's not worth my time if my neck has to be a certain length in order for me to be good at this, right? Or my posture has to be over erect and as far away from animalistic as possible. And that's the thing, is like, let's be as far away from animals as possible. Bro, you're an animal, right? You walk like an animal. You eat like an animal. You shit like an animal. Stop it, right? Stop it. Like, that's where we come from. We come from the stuff, right? And so you deny Africa because it's too primitive, right? And we're sophisticated and we wear turtlenecks, right?
Damn, I love turtlenecks.
Right?
I get him.
But then you don't see turtlenecks in Africa too much.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. But then what happens is that then everybody's peeking, taboo, or the wild people over there, and I was like, oh, these drums, I like these drums. Oh, but we got to stay. We want to partake in the drums, but you got to be, your legs has to be straight.
Yeah.
Right?
It's kind of like the ballroom, and that's exactly what
Stop
ballroom
it.
did. Yeah,
you're whitewashing the stuff, and by whitewashing is just a metaphor of like you're denaturalizing the thing, right? Because the thing is in you too, right? It's beyond culture. It's beyond culture. Forget about what island it came from and what the people's experience is. It's the human experience. It's an evolutionary thing. Dance is dance. The thing you do doesn't resonate with me as dance, because that's not why dance exists. That's not what we used to do around a fire when we first started making fire, when we were, when we started to figure rhythm out, and we started to have to move to that rhythm and chant and howl at the sky. And that's not what we were doing. Nobody was sticking their leg up here, holding it and doing 6 pirouettes, in tights. That wasn't happening, right? And so, the human being and its attachment to dance, and dance's existence, for as long as we've had anything, we've had dance, right? As long as we've had language, we've had dance. We were not even able, without being able to. I see my dogs dancing. The Apache he gets excited and he starts to do this little thing. And I saw, you dancing, because whenever I'm dancing, they get all frisky, and he starts popping around, hopping around. So I move the rug and I pull the rug, and he starts to get all frisky, and I say, you dancing, and he starts to get all funky, and they get it. He never tells me, oh shit, my leg wasn't straight, right? I promise you, the fulfillment of it is in a different level. When you start talking about commercialization, you start talking about, I got to get on stage and I got to be a performer. We got to be real dancers, and we got to sell this. And we got to make money, and we got to do all this stuff. Now you got to start putting all this, you got to start, making things sparkly and making the buttons and the technology and the stuff, and to make it cute so that people want to pay money for it. Right. But for you, if you know how to do that thing and people see it and recognize it, you don't have to do anything else. You can get up in your tighty whities with a big t-shirt on, barefoot, right, and you can take them there, right? The thing is, we were talking in the car about like getting back to zero. Like the thing is that we have to go through a lot of BS to kind of come to a realization that we already had it. You already get it. Yeah. I'm just putting you through this process of like rediscovering it, learning how to rearticulate it, and learning how to get closer to the point. This is a method of getting closer to the point. The concepts are the important thing. Once you understand the concepts, you can manifest that idea in multiple different ways. And now we're cooking, right? Now your specific angle starts to present itself. And like you said, you throw a hand up, that little thing may end up being the thing your students come to you for, is this thing that happened to you one night in a trance that you pondered and you started to make connections for. You say, why does this work? It used to happen to me with dropping on 7. When I do this Cuban drop, all of a sudden, boom, drop on 7. Something's up with that 7, right? If I accent that 7, it's like everybody goes nuts. I feel amazing. I want to keep doing it, right? Yeah. So what happens? You start composing steps, that have these little accents on 7. 7 is an important thing. I wonder why. I start to look into that, right? So I can replicate it. Eddie Torres said, I've taught you all I can teach you. After 2 years, he said, I there's nothing else I have to offer you. Now you need to go in the trance and try to start analyzing what's happening to you in the trance, start reverse engineering it, figure out why it's working for you. And, that's going to become your personal expression. Mm-hmm. And I try to do that. I try to facilitate that in the way that we teach, and the way that I practice for myself is facilitating that. It's like that I have that practice, and things come out, and sometimes I'm in the midst of practice, something comes out, I stop, start repeating it. What was that? That was deep, right? That was interesting. Something happened there, and it may show up in class one day, right? But it's following, I arrive there because I'm able to use all these elements, and I'm trying to put you in a position where you can arrive in your places,
I feel like is there a practice or like an exercise that you teach your students for like facilitating creativity?
Yeah, I there's a thing that I do, like in the listening end of things. We'll have like because we do this thing where once we're in the studio and the music is on, when you come onto the wood, if there's music on, there's no talking now, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you want to have a discussion or whatever, you have to go back outside the room. Because in the room, we're listening, right? We're respecting the music, and it's listening practice, right? So what happens is I'll give the students exercises to do during that listening practice. And I'll start off by having them follow an instrument, right? And just with your ear, stay connected to the bass or the piano or the congas, stay with it the whole song, right? Mm-hmm. Don't lose it. Try to distinguish it to, that drum can sometimes, the bass and something that it's doing can get confusing. And so, make sure it's not the bongo, but the conga, stay with it, right? And then once they get good at that, what happens is that initially that becomes a concentration exercise, right? It's meditation. You have to now stay focused for 3 minutes, locked into this song, making sure you don't lose that instrument for a second while it's going. And your concentration starts to deepen, so that when you are out there, your ear, boom, locks on and stays locked on, right? Because a lot of people have timing problems, not because they don't hear the beat, but because the physical activity that is required of them in the moment starts to pull their conscious brain away from listening, because they're so concerned with what to do next that their ear starts to shut down and the music starts to leave them behind, or they start to get ahead of the music, right? They'll start off right.
Sure.
And then as they start to get into activity, you see them slowly, they start to fall off timing. And that's a concentration thing. That's like an ear staying in tune thing while you are being active at the same time.
That's totally me.
Right. Yeah, that happens. That happens. That's the thing. I mean, you think about it, it shouldn't really be possible. When you think about what you're actually doing, it shouldn't be possible. Like the fact that you're thinking and improvising and driving and keeping that music the whole time, so that everything you do is on time and with the music. Damn. It's like we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we're trying to do here. It's heavy, right?
Right.
So then what happens is I'll step them up once they get good at that, and they've done that for a while. I'll start to have them add music to the song, right? To actually start to, in their heads, start to vocalize. And you can do this anytime listening to music, when you're driving, whatever. and start to boom pata king ting ko ki tung ta king ko king ki tiki tung pa tiki tuka kung pa kari ting ka tung king kong king kong pata, right? You start adding stuff yourself to what you're hearing, right? Mm-hmm. So you now become an active member of the band. Mm-hmm. And it can't be just super gibberish. It's going to go with what you're listening to, right? You're just riffing randomly along with the song, right? And what that does is it starts to get you thinking from the music. Because when I dance, I'm clicking my teeth. It's a habit. I have to like consciously make sure I'm not doing what I'm performing. Yeah. But when I'm just dancing, when I'm teaching class, I start, because in my head, I'm riffing musically. Mm-hmm. And then my body physically is expressing those rhythms, right? Yeah. But I'm not thinking, do this step, then do this step, then do. I'm not counting. I'm riffing percussively in my head, and then my body is now comfortable, like representing those rhythms. Boom, bap, ticka, boom, bap, ticka, boom, ticka, boom, bap, ticka, boom, ticka, boom, bap, 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 boom, bap, 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 bap. You know, like that. That's what I'm doing in my head, right? Mm-hmm. Partner work or otherwise, on stage or wherever, in class, like I can't turn it off anymore. There's the artist Eddie Palmieri. There are recordings of him playing solos on the piano, and the mic is hot, and he starts to like he's making this noise on top of the piano, and it's super audible. Mm-hmm. It's in many recordings. Some of them they emphasized it because it's like a thing of his, and like he's like like really going to town, like. But it's almost like he can't help it when he goes into the trance and things start to happen. It's not just coming through his fingers anymore. It's almost coming through his face, right? Like he can't hold it back.
Like a tick or something?
It is. But when you think about it, you see when people are really into it, then they start to get ugly and they start to get these little like twitches in their face, starts to contort when they start playing the drum or the guitar. And I'm not trying to do that to be cute, to be performative. That, you know, like I don't have like I'm going to that part of the brain where it's like, but my whole face is trying to get this out. You know, I'm trying to get this. This is happening right now. So that becomes the next step in the thing, on the way to them thinking that way when they're actually in active motion, where those rhythms are operating in them, because you get so familiar now from following the instruments. You get familiar with their quirks and how they deviate, how they improvise, how they function, when they pop up, when they go away. You become so familiar that you start to become, you know, I remember Jose Alberto Canario, we did a tour with him and Spanish Harlem Orchestra in Japan. We were on a bus with them. We went from city to city, performances, and I would do workshops. They would do a set with Spanish Harlem, and then Jose Alberto would come up and they would back him up and do his songs when he came up to sing. And I remember him having a battle on stage with Mitch Froman, who's a saxophone and flute player. And they call him El Canario, the canary, because he whistles like he's playing the flute, right? But he whistles like he's playing the flute, like he's phrasing and improvising, and Mitch is like battling him, and his whistles sounded cleaner than the damn flute sounded. Yeah. But he was phrasing like a flautist. And so I asked him in the nightclub, in the party after at night, I said, did you play flute? Like, because it seems like you are intimately familiar with the workings of how the flute structure and like chord structure and stuff like that happens. And he said, no, I have perfect pitch and I'm able to like imitate anything I hear, you know? And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, God damn,
pitch
right?
is crazy.
He also said that he listened to Arabic music because the singers in Arabic music, they do things with their voices that in like Western culture, it's not something we do, right? And it like forces your voice into ranges that you wouldn't necessarily mess with. And it gives him, clarity and opportunity. It trains his voice in a different way, almost in a maximized way. Like he's doing it with a weighted vest on, with ankle weights on, right? It's like, and then because of that, he's more fleet of foot when it's time for him to do his normal stuff. But it bugged me out his ability to phrase that way, and it's like that's what I'm trying to achieve, is like you're trying to achieve the ability to be a living, walking, breathing drum, like boom, I'm there. Anything that happens in the music, it's pulsing in my body and it's all natural, but I'm taking care of multiple rhythms at the same time. I have to express the whole band by myself. I have to manifest my music that functions within that band by myself with my body. I have all these options, my knees, my ankles, my toes, my feet, my elbows, my wrists, my head. I got all these things that I can mess around with. And I learned the math of that by going through structured sequences to show me how I would use. These are some ways that you could use your wrist to make this phrase. Now we make another phrase. We use our hands and our fingers and our shoulders to make this phrase. And then when you start making phrases of your own, you start putting those movements together the way you want to put those movements together, and it becomes this organic thing. But you have to develop, like, it would be interesting to study how musicians teach improvisation, right? Forget about dance. I'm not like, I love dancers. I respect it. I respect it to death. I'm just not a fan of that stuff the way it is. Pardon me. I'm much more inspired by musicians, and I wish there were more dancers that are like tap dancers, like Savion Glover. Like he motivates me. Like I dig that, because it doesn't look like he's concerned with anything. He doesn't look like any tap dancer I've ever seen before. He doesn't look like the Nicholas brothers that are all really cute and polished with the stuff that they do that's very show. He looks like he's in an alley and he doesn't give a shit what he looks like or who cares. It's just like he's speaking the truth, and sometimes the truth is a little crunchy and a little ugly. And there's a story about him that he was trying to explain something to a producer about an idea he had, and he was having trouble articulating it, and he jumped on the table, started dancing. Right. And everybody got it. Everybody understood what he was saying, right? That's when funny. He jumped on the table. He was at the point where he was more articulate with his body than he could possibly, right? It's like, that's crazy. Man, if I could get there, Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's like I said, it would be interesting to see how musicians teach improvisation. What are the exercises? What do they make you do? How do they make you consider it? That the rules are there so that you can't stray, and you'll do it. You'll make mistakes and stray. Like, damn, that note isn't in the chord. I shouldn't have gone there. It's a sour note, right? Or I changed key. I'm in the wrong key. Crap, But then you get good. The good ones, the great ones are there, and they show you how it's done. You watch people in a different capacity because of what you're working on. So you're not blinded by the flash, because you're actively working on stuff and you're looking for examples of that. You're not looking for examples of the other stuff, right? It's like that stuff, whatever. That's not the interesting stuff. The interesting stuff is this musician who's able to do what I'm practicing to try to learn how to do. Look how they do it. Damn, So you get information from that. It informs your practice back and forth. I watch Jose Feliciano, the blind guitarist, the blind Puerto Rican classical guitarist. I watch videos of him messing around. There's a video of him doing Malagueña, that famous Spanish song.
Like really difficult or something.
He starts playing, right? At one point, he just goes right into a blues phrase, just goes right into like this blues moment, stops. And then at another point, he just lets go and starts playing with his left hand. And he's playing for like a minute and a half just with his left hand, doing all this stuff like crazy on the neck of the guitar, not touching the body at all. And then he comes back. When he comes back, everybody loses their mind and stuff. But like, he's just sitting there like that stuff. Like, that's the state I want to be in, I don't care that he's sitting on a stool. I don't care what he looks like, how pretty it is, who wants to sleep with him. Like that stuff gets me hyped, you know, because I want to live there. I want to experience that. I want to know what that feels like, you know, like I want to be able to show other people what he's showing me, you know, the rabbit hole. This is, you know, I'm shooting you echoes from this point in the rabbit hole, you know. This is what it sounds like back here, right? Oh shit, like, oh man, that's exciting to me, you know. The journey there, like I said, practice enlightenment. You already know how to do it. It's just that you think it's supposed to be a certain way, and that part of it isn't, right? The other work you go and you do the work. You got to do the work. You got to transcend the work. You have to get through the structure to find the freedom, which is structureless. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You got to go through the structure to get to past it, to transcend it, to get to the structureless, which is where you want to be. You can't use the structureless you have now because you have to work your way through the maze first. And it's the structureless on the other side of that you are looking for, not the randomness that what you think you're supposed to do now. In the meantime, you have access to the trance the whole time that you're learning how to speak, right? You know how to express, you know how to get there to the place where the information should be coming from. You just have to get better at accessing it. And you do that along with learning what's going to come out, how it's going to come out. What are the possibilities when you get there? So when you're there, you have the tools, right? When you find yourself there, now you pull out that pack, you know, you pack this thing with all these tools, and you have to use those when you get to a certain place. You get to that place, you're like, boom, I'm here. Now I take the tools out. I got the tools to use it, but you have to learn how to use those tools in a separate, you know, give those tools time to breathe.
I definitely wanted to touch upon the point of, or the topic of like where you're at now in your life, where I guess circling back to dance in a way, like you've seen and done enough where like, where are you at now with like imparting or what you plan to do down the road with your life, where how you're interacting with your students or just the world, like where are you at for you?
Things are different. Like I'm in a place of like, I'm trying to be sensitive to what life is trying to tell me my next phase is, you know. I feel like things are slowly transitioning there. Pardon me. The pandemic kind of like really set things in motion in a very specific way. They changed the landscape of things in a very specific way. And the pandemic kind of hit me at a time that things were already transitioning and changing anyway. And so it just kind of like, boom, really put a nuclear boost to that transition. Sure. But I think, you know, I'm figuring out my niche, and it's been like this for a while, you know, but I'm starting to really acquiesce to the calling of being an alternative voice in these events, and to be the representative of an alternative way of perceiving things that are happening, you know. And that's fine. I'm trying to keep a living going by doing that, and thankfully, I'm traveling about as much as I was traveling. But this year, I'm about as booked as I was ever, you know, early in my career. Okay. And at the same time, I'm looking for like a stable way to make maximum impact with what I have to offer now as an older dancer, as someone who's in a different phase than the majority of people that you see active at this time. And like being here in Arizona, and I'm here working at Arizona State University doing a residency, and I am the first Afro-Latin guest artist to do a residency at Arizona State University. And it's like a super honor. It's like another thing to add to the firsts that we were part of, my dance company and the things that we did in the arts community. But I'm using it as an experiment to see how this feels, and if that may be the direction that I may want to start to move into, like higher education, working with university students, building programs, offering, because I did some complaining during the pandemic about the one-sidedness of dance education and how it's represented and what is considered worthy of being represented in university curriculums. And so, it's one of those things where, like, don't just complain about it, do what you can to see if you can fix it, And so I know that the director of the dance program that actually brought me out was just very like, this is so necessary. This is so necessary. And I feel like, it may be a beautiful way to get to a young generation that's open-minded enough and has experience in various dance forms, and opening the possibilities for them to consider dance as well in an ethnic capacity, and what that may mean, like the primitive Zen version of an ethnic dance being applied at a high sophisticated level, artistically, commercially, spiritually, personally, what that looks like and what that means. And I've been having an amazing time. It's been an amazing experience. So yeah, I'm trying to get information about how that may be a possibility. There's some dancers, Mario B had come and to an event here, and immediately was inspired about having dance program in education. I have a bunch of students that are like either teachers or like counselors in the Board of Ed, and they are already running things at the grade school level, okay. Like those things are happening, especially in New York City. But at the university level, in a sophisticated way, like I feel like it's like, it might just be exactly where I belong right now. And in the meantime, making sure that I keep a presence in the bubble of the Latin dance community, in the Congress circuits, again, to be that alternate voice, because I feel like there's a lot of people there that really appreciate, they complain about a lot of things there, and there's no respite and there's nobody to voice. They just kind of got to deal with it. There's people that want to be part of it, but they are unique and they feel overwhelmingly that they have to conform to something in order to be accepted. Sure. And they're always asking me advice, and I'm like, man, stay unique, I know it's hard, and I know you're trying to play the game, and everybody's trying to, like, this idea about playing the game and getting hired and like sacrificing your blood and everything you believe in, and all the gifts you have, having to put those aside to conform to the way this machine is going. And it's just, like, I can't leave those people alone without support, without advice. And like, I would be failing miserably in my responsibility to the dance. I really believe deeply in reciprocation, like in giving back to the dance for what it's done for me, what it's shown me about life, and doing my duty to be a good steward of the art form and pass it along the best I can to make sure that it's in good shape for the next generation. I'm really big on that. And so I can't just look at people that are, running into walls and falling into pits and traps without being there to kind of offer support and echo things that they may understand intuitively, but nobody else is echoing. And so they feel alone in the storm. And it's like, you're not alone. That's valid, what you're thinking. Yeah. So yeah, artistically, I'm having all these little opportunities like this, like here, being able to produce a work here that the dancers at the university will perform, doing student projects, doing boot camps that I've been doing recently, Welcome to the Party, working with dancers as a choreographer so they can experience me that way, like, because I'm coming from concert dance, all this experience in concert dance, and kind of bringing that now to this environment, and to get them to like, oh man, this is like a whole different experience. That's been a lot of fun also. I've been finding different ways to kind of allow people around the world to experience me and my work in a slightly different capacity, you know, which has been really, really great. So yeah, I'm always working on myself. I'm always going through my practice. But in terms of like, yeah.
What's up?
I just want to say, man, it's like
Okay.
you have to have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, this guy
Like you have to. You have to like.
I know. Okay, that's another part. That's also that, right? Because the second we did the last thing, everybody's like, "You need to have a podcast."
Yeah,
artists on the way to airports and stuff with other artists that like sneakily like, "Bro, I love what you did with the Salseros and thing, and like you need to do that on a regular basis." And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay." But yeah, that too, I guess. That's, you know, I'm looking for the platform. I'm looking for the outlet, like the access. You know, Bruce Lee stopped teaching at university because by doing movies, he was reaching more people, and all he was doing in his movies was getting his philosophy out there. You know, like whether you understood it or not. Like when I look back, I see him preaching in his movies. Right? He's talking about themes. He's showing certain ideas about the things he talked about, because I've read his books and I see the stuff in his movies. He's showing the stuff in the movies. And so you reach millions of people with the movie instead of having 40 people in a class in San Francisco, right? So, you know, I've been all throughout my career trying to find that mode for me. You know, what's the mass mode, the way that I can really get to. Yeah, maybe it's YouTube. Jesus,
I was gonna say two
what
questions.
A world it is, right?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you because like you could even at least do that as a mental outlet, if anything. Just say, hey, like whoever watches this, like, cool, like, absolutely, just at least for your own sanity, right? Because like I was gonna mention how you were in Palm Springs is completely different. Like your mood has like elevated, because I was like kind of worried, like, God damn, this guy's going through shit. Like, is he gonna be with us like in the next couple months? It was your grievances were like definitely, like, I could definitely feel it was so fucking palpable. I'm like, holy shit! Like
we were in an event and the stuff was right, you know, like it was right there. So and
no, I also came up to Frankie the night before. I was like, man, like I feel like we need something different. Like I am in a dark place right now, and I feel like that also kind of like opened the door to get in there.
It's necessary. Like you know, there's colors, man. You conversations take different directions, but I think we were in it. You know, we were in it, and the things that we had discussed before sitting down, we got in a certain mood. Like we had a discussion on the way over here. And that didn't stop. Like,
it just flowed into you guys, like, we didn't stop talking. Like we just started rolling the camera.
So that's what I mean. Like being in flow, being in the what the moment is requiring, and being true to the moment. And the moment is unique. You know, like it you know, I started thinking, like, how am I going to talk for another 2 hours and not repeat myself? You know, it's like,
it happens. I was gonna say real quick for, I guess, like the viewers, is like, I think that's why people, again, just from a more tangible and practical sense, like there's so much you can only teach in a class, even if like you're local and the students go to you, you know, like maybe they have work or like prior responsibilities, but like with long form discussion that's recorded, it's like recording a TV show. Like people don't even record anymore, so that's like, even for me, that's like showing my age. But like the accessibility of like, oh, if you like just post like even a monologue, and like just posting it to your channel, people can access it whenever they want. Like they're going on walks, or they're meditating, or they're just doing whatever. And I think you can double dip with the education thing. I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? So didn't you do like kind of like a collective, like, I don't know, choreographing something in Taiwan? I saw something. Was that just a bunch of dancers or something?
Yeah, we did. It was a boot camp. It was a boot camp, but I was teaching a piece that I'd become known for. That, you know, over 20 years, 22 years that I've been doing that piece. That was really Leah, my partner's idea, to like people they would go nuts to be able to do that, not just to do it, but to do it with you on stage.
Yeah,
to do
like be
that
a part
number,
of it, right? Okay.
So the thing was that it's dense and it's long, and it's like, how do I get this done in a weekend? Like, this is a lot to ask of anybody. And so we kind of like figured out that 8 hours was about what we needed to get it done. We kind of ran it as an experiment in New York, and it worked out beautifully. And then he was the first one that bit and was like, yeah, we want to do it here, right? And I was supposed to do it in Baltimore, but then at the last minute they were like, "No, we're not going to do." We had negotiated a price and the whole thing, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call. He's like, "We're not going to do any boot camps here," and I was like, "Man, that was going to be the first one." But yeah, 8 hours. Boom, they did like 3, 3, and 2 hours through the weekend, and then we had like tech rehearsal at night, and they just put it out there. They put a price for it. For people that were in the event but wanted to also do this particular program of the event, they paid, and boom, and a bunch of dancers showed up. Some of them were like teachers, like Eric Rodriguez did it from Okinawa. He's like a Puerto Rican from New York, New Jersey that ended up in Okinawa from the military, and he's got a whole thing going on out there. And so he came, he did it with a couple of his dancers, some other people. The promoter jumped in there and did it with us. Wow. The promoter in Taiwan, Calvin. And then at that event, Eric asked if I would come celebrate their anniversary of him being there 20 years in Okinawa and their thing. And then the promoter in Taiwan was like, you should do Welcome to the Party, and the people that are there from Taiwan will jump in and do it with you that did the thing. And I was like, oh, that'd be cute. So I told Eric, and Eric's like, hey, why don't you just run the thing again here? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we did it again in Okinawa, and some of the same people came from Taiwan, and then a whole nother group of people. It's been so cool every single time. It's like everybody kind of marvels that people were asking me about it here. They were like, are you going to do that? It was like they were ready to go with that. But it's a boot camp. I've never been, I don't even like that name, because first of all, I've been to boot camp. It's a real boot camp. And you know what I'm saying? And also, like, for me, as a martial artist training, like, there's nothing that's so not boot. That's like people saying Zen when you're talking about relaxation. It's such a like dumbed down, use of the word. It's almost profanity. Yeah. But and also because people do these these very truncated, practical, like, we're going to do 3 hours today, 3 hours tomorrow, and that's it, boom, and we're done. Sure. And I was trying to do like an actual number where, groups of dancers had certain sections, and we could then ultimately together do the whole number, right? Pardon me. But yeah, so that was one of the things that we started to do. We started to incorporate little ways, like I said, of like, not just offering workshops, but having extended time with people to talk about performance philosophy and preparation, and so they can see how I rehearse and how we program, the way we prepare for the stage, why we're up there, to think about what we're doing up there, little tidbits about performance itself, like interacting with the crowd, eye contact, subtle gestures and mannerisms that are natural and that warm you to the audience and are engaging, all those little things I can't do in an hour class. And now this gives me like time to sit with them, so it's been really, really cool. And I would love to do it more. It's always kind of dependent on what the promoters are willing to offer and what time slots are available to do that. But it's been a really, really beautiful experience.
That's great to hear. Another question before I lose my train of thought.
Wait, I have to head out really quick because it's late for me and my wife's waiting for me.
Sure. There's social dancing.
Oh yeah, I just want to say just one thing I wanted to say because I want this podcast hopefully to be in the books for the reason why you started YouTube or started posting more content online.
Yeah.
Because this is my pitch, right? Like, if you do it, there's so many people that are it's something new. Social media is something new. It's the new TV. It's the new radio.
Right.
And it's free. And it's the most. Everybody has a phone. Everybody's on social media. If you go on YouTube, from an educative standpoint, you can impact millions of people. And not only that, you can connect. You can do something great for the community, salsa, by connecting salsa with other genres just things that you love, things that you that has helped you as a person. You can do that through YouTube. Show people what you have seen, show people your perspective. And then not only that, like you can get monetized for that.
Right.
Like YouTube will pay you for the views. And then
Right.
also you can also monetize through developing your own courses. So if you get something that you love from the university, something that you like, but maybe you want to improve upon and make it better, you have it on your website, and people come and they will love to learn that.
Right.
It's needed.
Yeah.
And it's something that I know is needed, and it's something that I know I'd love to learn about. So if there's people, if I have that desire, there's enough people that want the same thing. So I think that you should do it, and the evidence is there. The first podcast that we had, it made waves.
Yeah.
And I think if you just keep doing it, you're going to continue to do waves and also leave a legacy for people to come back to. And you being and you're just going to help. You're going to target the teachers. So like the teachers who talk to you, they will talk to their students, because the students don't understand, but the teachers will, and you can speak to them, or you can speak to everybody, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
So that's what I want
I'm
to say.
I'm convinced, man. I'm convinced. I've been convinced for a while. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's really just legit.
There we go.
No, we could feel
It's really
it.
just logistics.
I didn't want to speak for you, but literally, I don't know if you noticed, your mood completely changed. Even like mid conversation from the first one, it got really fucking dark. And like for me to cope with like other people's energy, I'm just like if you see like internet memes where people kind of shit post, like it's just like random like obscure jokes, like I do that conversationally, and it took me everything within my power to like not say something so stupid or like irrelevant, because like it's almost like a tick for me to like break the tension. But going back to what Jose said, YouTube, most people like there's so many free educational sources out there, videos of educators or just people having long form conversations. Like sometimes the topics can get really obscure or very deep that sometimes you just maybe you got to listen to a lecture or watch a video and like sit on it. It's so hard for someone to just like even learning a turn pattern, and just no instructor even expects any of the students to like get it within that workshop, whatever. It's like take it home and practice and like let it marinate, and imagine something way deeper off the deep end. Like how much time is that going to take? So I think logistically it's good to just put stuff out, even as like I consider it like this channel is like a video journal where every once in a while you can just reflect and like watch it or watch some of it. You don't have to rewatch everything, but like you can touch back on it whenever you want. And I think it logistically it just makes sense to put everything out there, and you'll have theoretically infinite reach where it kind of works on its own, where you can kind of have that stream of consciousness to be out there, but then still do your day-to-day things. One question, like I almost forgot that. So like you said you acquiesced. You gotta go.
I gotta head out.
Hey, brother. Wonderful seeing you, man.
All right, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you guys for having me
See
back.
you, man.
Wishing you the best.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
All right, man. We'll see you later. But there was I just wanted to see where you're at with like the whole Congress thing, where you're talking about, because I felt it in your voice. You said you kind of acquiesced to being the alternative voice,
right?
And we brought it up in the first conversation.
Right.
Like, do you say that because you're kind of like resigning to it, or you're more accepting of where you're at? Like, I guess the context I'm trying to grasp at is like, was there something you tried to achieve before that maybe not have worked out? Where
I
you're
see
just
what
like,
you're saying, yeah.
Or is it just the alternative voice like, hey, like this is probably the best I could do in the moment.
Right.
If things change, cool. If not, like I'll just do this thing.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think what's happening is that I have no business in these events. Like I have no business otherwise being in these. Like I did it for 4 years and I graduated. It was done. I did what I wanted to do there, and I had other things I wanted to do, and I kind of like went out and did them. Mm-hmm. And people have this thing that those events are the be all to end all of what you should be doing, what anybody should be doing, that I'm supposed to be there. That bothers me in and of itself, that I'm supposed to be there, and that my absence was somehow a detriment to myself. And in some ways, in terms of like turnover of generational awareness of me, yeah, like I had to keep coming back every once in a while and reintroduce myself to whoever was around and whatever they were into at the time. But it really had to do with the fact that I went out to work on theater stuff. It's like junior high school. It was like, I see it like junior high school, where like I went through that. I went through it. I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go back in a capacity as a counselor to like show people this is what happens after you graduate, and you can choose this career, and you can be this and you can be that. But not to go back there and go back through junior high school with all the kids that are going through junior high school right now at the moment, right? I'm not there to go share the stage with somebody that's been dancing for 2 years in the same capacity that they're there. Like that's not like, I did that already. Like the it's almost, because I had a moment where like I would see other people that I came up with, people that were even before my generation. And like I was doing something else. I was invited as a guest. I come as a guest. They're paying me just to be there. And I'm watching the shows and we're talking about my work. Maybe we'll bring my theater work over here. I'm watching people perform and these kids. And then all of a sudden, boom, there's these dancers that that have been around since before me. Mm-hmm. And they're still there on stage with these kids trying to do the same thing in the same way with the same costumes. They don't even fit in the costumes anymore. It's like,
right.
And I felt so bad. Like I felt so bad. And like to the point I'm telling myself, I can't end up like that. You know what I mean? I remember after I was dancing for 2 years, we were at a club called Rumba in the Bronx. Mm-hmm. And this was the most ghetto place I've maybe ever been in. And we had to do a show. I remember it being like just a bunch of hoods, like, like baggy pants and like ball caps turned around. And they're just like standing there watching us, like, and we're dancing. We're wearing all these sparkles and all this shit. It's just like so embarrassing, right? Yeah. And like they're around us. We didn't even have like our own space to do the thing. They were like around us 360. And so you would turn around and you couldn't tell where the front was anymore. It was like nuts. So I'm dancing and I'm like, I got to pay my dues. This is my thoughts on the dance floor while this is happening. I'm thinking, yeah, I got to pay my dues. I got to do stuff like this, right? But then I look over and Duplessis Walker is next to me and she's Eddie's niece. And she at the time was dancing for 14 years, right? And she was right next to me in that god-awful club in this activity that I felt so embarrassed about and it felt like it was so demeaning.
Sure.
And I started to think, if I don't pull myself out of this stuff and like, I'll be making that excuse about paying dues for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like something's wrong that she paid her dues.
Right.
And she's got to sit through this shit here with me. And I just started, I'm still trying to get my chops together. And I started to think, maybe this is not going to take me where I think it should take me. Like I'm going to have to go there myself or else, I may be stuck, It's what we call arrested development, right?
Yeah.
Where you get like, you're in this pit and that's where you function, man. You don't ever get out of the pit. You think you're supposed to somehow get to the other side of the rainbow, and there's no rainbow, man. You're just in the dirt. And with every generation that comes in, you say, you got to pay dues. But you're paying dues, right? Paying dues becomes the thing all of a sudden. Yeah. That stuck with me, And so like 14 years in, 17 years in, I'm looking at dancers and I'm going, first of all, I'm seeing them dancing the same or not. Like there's been no movement in their way of thinking or in their evolution.
Right.
And then also they're still defaulting to the same environment for the same audience in the same capacity. And that's important. Like, I feel like it's important, like I said, to demonstrate the next phase to the younger generation so that it will be accepted and respected and that they will know where they're headed, so that there's an example of what it means to be an established, older, artist functioning in this world, what it looks like, what the dress is like, that's what we tend to do. We tend to provide the archetype for a certain
phase.
Yeah, you know, like I when I was young, I was the archetype of what the young, cool, hip, contemporary Latin dancer should look like. Like I felt like people identified me as the model of like we can dress the way we want to dress, and it can be funky, and we can be funky in our expression. We don't have to follow the norms. We don't have to wear suits. We can wear ripped jeans. We can go a different direction with the way we present ourselves, and the dance can reflect that without sacrificing any of the rice and beans and the cultural stuff and the meat of the soul of it, right? And I feel like that's what happened at that time. People started dressing like me. They started wearing their hair like me. They were wearing my hats. They were wearing the shoes I was wearing. It was this thing where I was what they thought they were supposed to be in that era, you know? Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's constantly being set forth for people, like what they're supposed to dress like and what their shoes are supposed to look like. And like you're getting cues of what it means to be a Latin dancer, because you're learning that as well while you're learning the dance. Like, how should I be? Your dress starts to change, you know, your choice in shoes starts to change depending on who you're watching. And, you know, it's like your whole way of walking, you know, it's like people were imitating stuff about me that was like, what does that have to do with anything? You know, like I used to make a joke that, you know, videos would pop up around of me doing stuff to the point that there was videos of me brushing my teeth, and I was like, where did this camera come from? You know, it's like I didn't even know when they were recording me or when, you know, like it was, but people were emulating it, and you could see it. This guy dresses just like you, and you see the influence, you know, it was like, but that happens to people. But we don't have the older dancer that has like moved into another phase. Beyond all that, what is that supposed to look like? What are we like? We're all just following the same like 20-year-old archetype.
It's just a point in time.
The only one that is. Yeah, it's such a momentary, fleeting thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, did you ever talk to like the older dancers, asking them like, "Hey, like, why are you still doing this?" Or, like,
no, you know, it's. I don't want to make anybody like.
Yeah.
Because they may be, you know, happy as a pig and shit. Like sure. I'm still doing it. I still got it. You know, it's like. You know, it's not that they're not feeling bad. I'm feeling bad. Like the problem isn't with them; it's me. Like
it's because you don't want that. Right?
Yeah, I that's not really how I want to find myself. You know, my teacher used to say, "Never find yourself where you were last seen." That I grew up with that. Like that I think about that. Like the shibumi thing, all these concepts that I learned in martial arts. You don't just throw that stuff away. Like that's what I was raised on, right? That's the filter. That's the lens I see the world through. I can't see the dance in another capacity, right? My teachers were good teachers. They trained the shit out of me, you know? Not just in karate, but in the thing, right? In the life part of it. I mean, people like, they disagree. Oh, I disagree, la, la, la. And that's fine. You're disagreeing with my teacher. I'm not gonna, you know, you may have a valid point, but you know, to get me to consider your viewpoint over my teacher's viewpoint, all the work that man put in and all the, like I select my teachers, you know, carefully. That's not a game to me, you know. I didn't study dance with anybody but Eddie, you know. I didn't go to anybody's class. I didn't want anybody to have claim to me, right? Because I could see what was happening immediately. I could see, you know, I'm going to immediately be making an impact, and people are going to want to start to claim that he was my student, or he, you know.
Right.
And so I stayed away from all of that. I was very faithful. Because in karate, it's the same way, you know. It's like these guys show up, and it's like, yeah, I used to train him. I trained him for, you know. It's like, wait a minute, did you really? Oh, you know, so and so said he trained you. Nah, man, I didn't. You know, or they would say I studied with so and so, right? That happens to me all the time. Mm-hmm. I danced with Frankie. Who danced with this? Somebody introduced themselves to me in Chicago and was like, oh, like my friend said to say hello. He said he used to dance with you, or you guys danced in the same company. And I looked at it, and I didn't recognize the dude's picture. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just said, oh, yeah, tell him I said hi. But I was like, who the hell is that? Like, people do that all the time, right? Yeah, I used to train with so-and-so. And like, oh, really? Person's dead. I used to train with so-and-so. I can't verify it now. It's like, people do that a lot, let me tell you. And I was there, and I didn't see you were nowhere to be found. I don't know what you're talking about. you know, and there's a group of people that know you weren't there, but you know, you know, keep telling people that. But yeah, that happens a lot. And it's like, I knew right away, I didn't want to, you know, like that was important to me, that man was that's my legacy. That's my, pedigree, you know, that's what I mean by, I'm not going to change this for you. Right. I would be denying what my teacher taught me. Right. Everything I do goes right back to Eddie Torres' fundamentals. I don't look anything like Eddie Torres dancing because I took those fundamentals and they took me where they took me, right? But I teach people as much as possible. I try to replicate the way I got the information up until a certain point, and then including making sure that my methodology includes all the things that I've come to understand along the way to make sure that they also will stumble onto those realizations as well. But yeah, I it's just the way I see things. And my karate instructor used to tell us all the time, never be found where you were last seen. That's Kaizen in Japanese. It means constant improvement, right?
Sure.
That you're always moving. You're always getting better. There's no static state. If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. You don't stay the same, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, when I see my teacher, when I bump into him on the street, which has happened a few times. My second karate instructor, I just saw my first karate instructor for the first time in maybe 30, since I was maybe 17.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's like 31 years I haven't seen him. So I went to his house. We had dinner together. We spoke. I showed him my artwork. We like reconnected. He sent me my test cards from 1983. All the karate tests all the marks that I got and all the stuff. Sent me all these index cards that I just got them. I was like, oh my God, I put them with my certificates and all this stuff. But yeah, I bump into him in the street and it's like, he immediately starts to hit my stomach. Oh, you're still tight. You're still slim. You're still training, right away.
Yeah.
Let me get fat for a second and bump into that man. I'll feel like I failed everything he taught me. You know what I'm saying? It's like right away he starts checking. Yeah, you look good. You I see your videos. You're sharp. Stay sharp, right? And it's like, you know,
right.
I don't ever want him to catch me sliding, slipping. You know, it's like that's what he taught me, to keep moving, and he's an example of that. You know, I see him, and he's still a samurai, and like he's still there. He looks like, because I was young, and young people looked old to me, and I got old. And he got older, but he looks exactly the same to me because he's the same amount older than me.
Sure.
So he doesn't look any different. When I look at pictures, I realize how young he was when I was young. But when I see him now, you know, it's like, because I see myself older, he looks the same. Like, you know, I can never, like, that's what he gave me, you know, and I hope to give that to somebody else. Like, keep going, keep moving. Don't stop moving. It's a lifelong thing. You know, You see these old masters in the damn, you know, pounding on palm trees in their backyard.
Sure.
And they're like, they can hardly walk, and they're still there. It's not where you get, there's nowhere to get, right? It's the doing it. You know, that's your way of life.
How are we on time for you? And then also, it's whenever you want to end it, because like we'll let this run. But also, what do you think? Like touching upon that, what do you think about, you know, the evolution of any dance, really? And then what do you believe in cross training, or how do you see cross training, like learning different styles? Because even the last conversation, you talked about how like your first grievance, definitely you mentioned how like, you're like something along the lines of, you know, how come there are no like specialists in like a discipline and really specifying and just like really dedicating to one thing. And everyone wants to seem like, or it seems like to you, everyone wants to be jack of all trades. Yeah. So like, where's the balance in that for you? Or do you see any value in like training and different dances and keeping things fresh and kind of incorporating it? I don't know, making it your own.
I've never been big on that. You know, it's like studying multiple martial arts. There's an argument to be made for it, but that argument is always coming from like an intermediate perspective. When you really look at it in a universal sense, you're treading the same water. You're just treading it in a different language. It's like learning how to speak a few sentences in a bunch of different languages doesn't really make you a better communicator, right?
Okay.
Like that's the gist of it, right? Like
Okay.
to truly work on the depth of your capability to communicate in a single language. If you have the capacity to do that in multiple languages, sure. But if you're going to do shallow work in a bunch of different disciplines, you're wasting a lot of, you're not really getting to the heart of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And because the valuable stuff is not there, you know,
Sure.
like we're talking about delivery mechanisms. Like I said, when you start to realize that how these structures function in terms of teaching you and in terms of using them for development, you start realizing that if I'm messing around with the delivery methods of this language, and simultaneously I start messing with the delivery methods, all I'm doing is adding more delivery. You're basically just adding material to the same level of understanding that you're at. Mm-hmm. Now your scope of work is being spread thin, and it usually just means like you're moving laterally and you're not moving up or deeply, right? Mm-hmm. It depends on what you think value really is. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, there's a relative truth and there's a universal truth. In a relative sense, I see the argument for like being versatile, having the capacity to jump styles if it's required of you. Mm-hmm. But to be a mediocre representative of those things, you could make more impact in showing, you know, a very refined version of something, sure, than to show an unrefined version of a lot of things. You know, the idea that mastery is universal and the methodologies are varied, and that at the end of the day, what you come to understand through mastery is the same thing. It doesn't matter if, you know, you're mastering, you know, fashion design, or you're mastering the archery, or you're mastering a tea ceremony, or you're mastering dance, or you're mastering martial arts. At the end of the day, you're coming to understand the same thing, right? Like I said, stillness is the highest form of movement. So, you know, if you tell me I got to use my arm this way and another dance tells me to use my arm that way, who cares how you use your arm? At the end of the day, it's the fact that I can stand still and twitch and get my point across. Who cares what style of that came out, you know, like, mm-hmm. So yeah, it's important down here. Okay. If you keep moving up, you look back and you realize, you know, depends on where you're coming at it from. For me, it's not as, you know, I had this conversation with my first karate instructor, and he, I think I told this story. I wanted to learn Wing Chun, and he said, that's fine. But he said, eventually you'll find that everything you're looking for is in Shotokan. And I thought he was being proud about his style and trying to keep me from, like, you know, my style's better. Right. But he was coming from a Zen perspective. He was trying to tell me, you can go ahead and go try and master Wing Chun. You're going to end up at the same point here, right? If you take that energy and keep going, you end up at the same, like, you're going to end up in the same place. It's you're not going to find out anything different. You're going to find it out in a different way, right? Through a different mode of finding it out. But what you're finding out is the same shit, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I get it, but, you know, there's enough breath in what we do to keep you busy for the rest of your life. Like, sure, 20 rhythms, 20 dances that coordinate with those rhythms, you know, Mozambique, bolero, cha-cha-cha, boogaloo, pachanga, bomba plena, guaracha, son montuno, rumba, guaguancó, Colombia, right? Yambu, the Yoruba dances, you know, samba shows up in our music. Afro. There's a lot of stuff under my umbrella, you know, in my genre. There's a lot of stuff to mess with. That's my versatility there. Right? I don't have time. You know, I'm not interested in dance for dance. I'm interested in this for this music, like, because it is what it is and it points to what it points to. That's why I'm in this, not because I'm interested in dance as a thing. And as long as I'm moving, I'm happy. Like, it's not that, you know. That's why I say I'm not a fan of dance for dance's sake.
Yeah.
If it's not this music, I'm not super interested in dealing with it this way, you know.
That's fair enough. Yeah. You got any thoughts on that, or?
I do. I've just been kind of simmering over here. Real quick.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, speak up.
So okay. So when I've had a couple of people like that when we talk about like dancers, right? They're usually, their definition is dancing is like, oh, like a dancer can do any form of dance, right? So what's the argument to that? And in that case, right, of like, okay, well, like, if you're a specialist at one thing, that limits you of not being able to dance the other stuff. But then, like, for you yourself, right, do you think it's like, oh, like, you're a specialist in this dance, like salsa specifically, but if like somebody tells you dance bachata for me, like, could you do it just because you are a dancer? Or is it just more like, you wouldn't even put yourself in that situation because it's more like, you don't want to.
I have no interest. It doesn't do anything from that side of the spectrum. Does nothing for me, right? It's not related to the discipline that I'm involved in. If you put that music on, I'll show you that music. I can show you that music.
Okay, I see.
Right?
So
I'm not going to show it to you the way you think it's supposed to look, but I'll show you the music for sure.
So then, do you consider yourself? And this sounds rude, but so then, do you, like, when you see yourself at like their point of view kind of deal? Do you consider yourself a dancer? Like, as a, like,
I consider myself. I don't like to separate I don't like the concept of the dancer existing separately from the human being, or the music existing separately from the human being. Like, for me, my whole journey has been about erasing those lines, you know?
Right.
I call it the trifecta, the trinity, you know, the dancer, the dance, and the music. You know, we all walk around as these things being these separate things. And so a person has to, in Zen, they say you stink of something, right? Like you stink of being a dancer because you're not dance, right? You're a person who identifies themselves as a person who engages in dance. That's intermediate understanding, right? I am dance. It's obvious I'm dance. Dance can be nothing other than me, right? There can't be any music if I don't exist. There's no music, right? There's no, I'm walking music. I'm what music is talking about. So the label bears no sway over me, right? I'm dance, right? Dance is the manifestation, the human manifestation of humanness, physically and rhythmically, right? And so, like I said, I choreographed tons of stuff. I've choreographed pop songs. I've choreographed a lot of like soul and funk music and like anything. If there's a conga, I was listening to a Curtis Mayfield song, and the song started out with Wawanko in the song. The second I hear that conga in the song, sometimes if I don't hear the conga, if I know the conga would fit in the song, it's fair game. I'm going to treat it as an afro, or I'll treat it as and I'll choreograph it that way as a Mozambique, right? The rhythm fits, I'll do it, right? Bachata music is as simple as it gets. If you play a merengue, I'll dance the shit out of it. It's not going to be your idea of it, right? Because that has right. But that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that anything you play for me, I'll show it to you. But I'm not going to classify, right? This is this dance and this is that dance, and I'm a collector of philosophies, right? I don't believe, I'm not interested in that. I don't believe in it. I believe that a person that says that a real dancer can dance anything, that makes zero sense. Because I put you in a flamenco class and you'll be a goddamn mess, right?
Right.
I put you in a tap class, you'll be a goddamn mess, right? You can't dance everything. Stop it. Stop it. Do you want to do? You can do tango. You can do tango, really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You have a select few dances, and if I look at what you're talking about, those dances are extremely linear. And I'm talking about 20 rhythms in my dance and 20 dances in my dance. I should have more license to say that than you do, right? Because you know ballet, and you know ballet is very linear, right? I mean, you can go into contemporary ballet, and there's a bunch of different modes and methodologies, but all those people jump in and out, and they're able to dance with each other, and they're able to take those classes. You take one of those dancers that's a principal dancer in a contemporary, and you put them in a flamenco class, and they're going to be a fucking mess, right?
Right.
You are devaluing the specificity and the sophistication of an art form by saying that I should be able to kind of do. That means you can, like, it's disrespectful to the other stuff, you know? It's disrespectful to ballet to say that you as an adult can go in and take some ballet and now you can do ballet also. No, you can't. Like you ballet is a 1%, like 1% of the people doing ballet can do real good ballet. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the type of endeavor it is, you know? Mm-hmm. It's like the NBA. It's like everybody else is kind of doing it, you know? But it's one of those things. It's one of those elitist things that, like, you have to be off the chain gifted to be able to do it at a high level. It's not like, and then it's very competitive, and it's got its thing. It's got its function. I get it, you know? But like I said, you try to get a ballet dancer. If I give them my music, if I give them some Afro and I tell them, show me this music, you know, it's not going to quite work. You know, it's not going to get there. You guys nowadays included this as a requisite. I'm exempt from your requisites, from your generation's requisites, you know? In other words, that has nothing to do with me. You know, like that this is the world as it is now, is that like young people decided this is what's going to happen. Bachata had nothing to do with what we were doing for 15 years. Yeah. Then all of a sudden it started creeping in, and now I'm responsible for that decision. I didn't make that decision. It had nothing to do with me. I just politely say, I'm sorry, I don't dance bachata. I don't like this song. If I don't like a salsa song, I'm not going to dance it. I'm sorry, I don't like this song. Can we wait for the next song?
That's valid.
Yeah, it is. It's a very in Zouk they do, and I don't dance Zouk or anything like that, but or Brazilian Zouk, but it's just like it is a very similar thing. That it's like if the DJ isn't good or anything like that, it's like
Aisha, my first partner, she said to me when we were first starting to date, and I was dancing with Eddie, we were both dancing with Eddie. She said the band should be proud that they got you, that they were able to get you up, that they compelled you to get up and dance. She said you don't just dance for anybody. And I was like, damn, that's like, you know. But she's like, no, you're so special. You don't have to just do it because people think you're supposed to do it, or you feel compelled that you have to do it. If you don't feel it, if it doesn't get you up, like you don't get up by yourself and you just have to, don't do it, right? You don't like the song, you don't like the song. I trained so hard to get to a point where I'm moved by the thing as opposed to me trying to move. I can't fake it anymore, you know? If there's nothing there, the response isn't there. And so I'm just kind of faking the funk. And I refuse anymore as an older person to go through the motions because that's what I'm supposed to do, you know, like, because I know what it feels like to be affected and to have it happen on its own. And you start to get kind of like, it's anything else I just can't tolerate, you know? So I'll tell people in the middle of the dance, like, this song is really weird. Let's, I want to hold on to them. It's not you. Let's wait for another song. Like, it's not working for me. These DJs play some stuff, man. Like, sometimes it's like, what the hell compelled you to put this on in an environment like this? Good God. But yeah, the whole point is that you can't say, oh, like, you lose your mind on the dance floor and that's good. But then you're supposed to fake losing your mind if you don't like the music, or you just dance, you just go through the motions, right. You're not feeling it. What the hell am I dancing for? What the hell's the point if I'm not, right? I don't just like stuff because it's salsa, There's a whole lot of salsa I don't like a whole lot. My taste is very specific. The stuff that makes me feel that way is very specific. That's the stuff that moves me. That's the stuff I choreograph. Even my music, like regular music that I listen to outside of dance stands, that stuff is specific too. I mean, it's very diverse, but it's not like hokey pop music. It's not that stuff, That
was actually one of my questions. What's your playlist look like outside of salsa? Just because,
man,
because I mean, when I've seen a couple of your interviews and you're always like talking about Hendrix and like a bunch of, like, you have like really, really wide, extensive knowledge. And also, I also realized, like, do you play an instrument, or like, how do you have so much music theory?
Yeah.
Because when you talk about it like extensively, like, and you know what the fuck you're talking about, which is really, really cool. So
I have students that I learned very like rudimentary conga drumming. Like I can do multiple rhythms poorly, right? I had a moment where I was about to kind of try to dive in to do it. And I really started realizing you have to really start to affect your body. Like, your hands really have to start to change in order to really start to develop the sounds properly and have the endurance to like bang on that thing.
Whiplash.
Yeah. So I started to feel like, I've had that a couple of times, where, because I do fine arts also, I do drawing and painting. And so, like, to sit there because I can't do it halfway. Like, if I was going to do it, I'd have to like really dive in. But I do have students that went and did it, like, and started learning. And the teacher that everybody kind of ends up with, especially because of the way that I teach, is this teacher, Louis Bausal, that's in New York. He's a well-known music teacher there. He's the bongo player on the song Merecumbe by Johnny Colon. That was recorded in the 70s. He's playing bongo on that album. Like, he's been through these bands. He was playing with Larry Harlow before Larry Harlow passed away. He's old school, and he's got these workshops. He used to have these workshops at Boys Harbor in Spanish Harlem. And people from bands would come and do these workshops and do songs, and he'd tear them up and tell them what they were doing right. And like, he's like rough. But a bunch of my students, Leah, my partner, went and was singing and, learning to sing coro and learning how the music works and what they're supposed to do. I had a Taiwanese student named Dave that got into percussion, and they used to send me recordings when he would go on rants, of like talking about specific things about clave and like dancers that don't read music and understanding clave and things. And, there's only 2-3 clave or 3-2 clave, and there's the other clave we made up later on. And like, like these things, I got into an argument with a girlfriend early on about music, because I was like, when I first started, like, I thought music was 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is how musicians count. But I didn't realize that the 5, 6, 7, 8 was actually expressing a very specific part of the bar. I thought we put 5, 6, 7, 8 in there for our bodies so that we knew what the second half of what we were doing was, but not necessarily that the 5, 6, 7, 8 was a different thing than the 1, 2, 3, 4. So sometimes I would float and I was on 1, 2, 3, 4 on 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And my girlfriend at the time was like, sometimes you don't let me do my 5, 6, 7. You're on top of me right away. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I was so offended. Like, you think I have no rhythm? And she's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I was so offended. She was older than me, and I was really insecure because I was way younger. And I was like, what are you trying to say? Like, I just felt like, I'm not man enough for her. Yeah. But so I resolved, like, that bugged me so much. And I was like, I'm never going to lose another argument about music ever again. And I started to go nuts. Like, I bought this book, Salsa, the Rhythm of Latin Music by Marty Scheller. And it talks about how Latin music is composed, like how it's arranged. But he's Jewish. And so the way he's talking about it from an outside perspective is so clear and comprehensive, because he had to kind of wrap his head around it. And so he's explaining it to you as an outsider, not born in the culture where these things are just like, natural. This is son, it's different than cha-cha-cha. Can't you hear it?
It's probably easier for him to even recognize it because he doesn't have, I feel like a lot of times, like in Latin people or Latinos and Hispanos, like a lot of times, like it's like, it's very easy for them, like just do like ooh ah, like right. And it's like, and sometimes like you need an outsider perspective to see like, oh, that's a quarter, and that's a half, and oh wait, that's a triple, and so I think that's
So I didn't get into learning instruments. I feel like I think I was supposed to be a musician. Like, I think I was supposed to play an instrument. It wasn't one of the things that I was exposed to early on to get enough interest to pursue it. But I think my head works that way. Even as a kid, I was always riffing over, like, I used to get these 12-inch singles they used to do back in the day where it was like a vinyl, but it would have like 5 versions of remixes of one of the song, same song on one side, and then like 5 more. It was like the Pete Rock remix and the thing. It was like all this hip hop from that time. I had a whole collection. A friend of mine in 6th grade, he got me into collecting them. And I remember my first dance contest, I was 13 years old, and I won this like freestyle dance contest at junior high school dance. And I got a Cool Mo D 12-inch single. That was the prize for winning the contest. Big Daddy Kane and like all that stuff. I used to play that on records in this record player. Stereo systems were a big thing, like having a stereo system. So having a record player was like this whole speakers and the whole controller thing. But so I would listen to, there's a song by De La Soul called Ring Ring Ring, Ha Ha Hey. That song, Hey, how you doing? Sorry you can't get through. It's an old De La Soul song, right? And so there was an instrumental version on the B-side of that album that was just like this funky jazz, like instrumental. And I used to listen to that like in the shower, and I had every progression. I could vocalize the whole song, like the whole instrumentation. Larry Harlow's solo in Anacaona, I can do that solo. Like, I do that solo note for note when it comes on. I follow it like verbally, note for note, the whole, and it's just something it's like I'm singing along with the song, but I was always kind of like riffing along with music. I just feel like my brain has always been there. And because of my exposure to different styles of music, I think it primed my brain that way. And because when I was young, my first karate instructor was always listening to jazz in the car and like Motown and like that stuff, that old R&B stuff. So I really learned who John Coltrane was in his car, who Miles Davis was in his car, like who Bird was and Monk and like all these guys in his car, like listening to his music while we were going to the dojo for me to assist him teaching. And then when I started going to college, I started buying like albums. I saw the movie Mo Better Blues. It's a Spike Lee movie. It's like his 3rd film with Wesley Snipes and Denzel Washington. And the music in that movie just blew me away. Like, and it's about jazz musicians and like them fighting, and it's like a whole Spike Lee thing. But the music was all done by oh crap, I'm gonna forget this guy's name. I can't believe it. It'll come to me right when I'm leaving. But all the music was done by these guys. There were 2 brothers that were more contemporary jazz artists that Spike Lee constantly used in his movies. And I did that album. like in high school, I was always with that album on, like listening to that album. So yeah, I think that the exposure and the way that I perceived of music at a young age and how I was surrounded by it in a specific way, it was almost like growing up with musicians, you know. It's like if you had a musician in the house and you weren't actually studying it, that type of exposure, I think, develops you in a certain way. And I think that was there, it just wasn't there in the literal iteration. But yeah, I didn't go to formal art school. I got into it a little too late. Like right in high school, I started drawing, realized I loved it and had an affinity for it. And the same thing with music. I just kind of like, it just was there all the time, but it wasn't something I thought to pursue. And I probably could have, you know, done it in a serious way if I wanted to. But it was because I needed to do it with my body. It was like, but life is funny how it, like, it makes sure you end up where you're supposed to end up. And sometimes we force ourselves into like denying what life is trying to tell you. I'm always trying to be sensitive to that, but I can't, my story doesn't make any sense sometimes. Like how I ended up.
I listened to oh crap, what was the other guy's name?
Jurgen.
Yeah. And like you were talking and all of a sudden aviation comes. Yeah. So somehow it pops in there with the Navy. And I'm like, this guy it's all about art. It's all about music and this and that. I'm just like, how the fuck did he go to the Navy? Like, it didn't make sense. And then like, you explain your dad, and I was like, yeah, but it's cool. I mean, that's really cool. Like that makes you as a person. I think it's the reason why, like, you know, for whatever reason, you know, like the podcast that you did with them, Jose and Will, like went off. But it's like, I think it's those singular events that happen in your life that make you so interesting, and it's the reason why, you know, maybe somebody cares a little bit to like listen to you. And I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
And
brother. Yeah.
honestly, the only reason I'm not talking is just because like I personally, I listen to podcasts like all the time. So like, this is like listening to like a live podcast. So the way you see it, like live music, like that's to me, this is beautiful. Like
it's
just
weird happening in real time.
Right.
It's like, okay, like I'm processing.
Yeah.
There's so many moments where I'm like, okay, like I'm drifting, like Frankie's looking at me, talking to me, but I'm like still hung up on I'm trying to grasp, like, all right, let me like try to like reach for like some form of understanding, and by then you've had 20 minutes in the conversation. I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm
I gotta say things,
crazy.
Say things and sit and just watch you guys like
the hand
simultaneously.
Dude,
it's like
the hand thing, like you were explaining to him, I was like, bro, that's fucking me up, because like I've learned like that you always put it underneath. So it's like I'm like, now I'm thinking like, okay, like how do I make that work like in all of my dances and like, but yeah, I think.
Yeah, now we want to try it because like we didn't even know. Like it's just one of those things where people are like, all right, this is how you hold the grip.
And we don't question it because it's all we know.
Yeah. As soon as you're like, you kids do it this way, I'm like, you kids. I'm like, no one told us.
It's funny. It's funny how prevalent it became.
Yeah.
And it switched all of a sudden, you know, because I never had any problems dancing with anybody. Then all of a sudden, I'm fighting for the top position with the follows. Like, we're both fighting for the top position. I'm like, what is going on? You know, and I'm starting to realize, I'm like, oh, look how these, I tell you, you know, like people are so like wrapped up in these term patterns that don't make any sense with all this like gibberish that doesn't make any sense with looping and relooping and unlooping and underlooping. And like the way I learned the dance and the structure of the dance and the movement of the dance and the refinement of working with the hands and what those things meant and how you, what the principles were so that you could leave a hand and recover a hand without anybody noticing that you ever let it go. And that, like, I always say closest part of my hand to the closest part of their hand. If I'm turning and my pinky arrives first, that's how I'm going to reconnect with you. I'm not going to stop at your hand, swing around and grab you in a different capacity. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm turning around to my left and the follow has their right hand, I put the hand on my body. I don't ever hand the hand off to another hand because that's like juggling by handing, right? I put the hand on my body, I turn and until my other hand arrives at the hand as it's touching me. And when it arrives, it has to arrive over the top. And what I see everybody else do is it arrives and they go, because they have to conform to this thing that they were taught, And so when they turn, they got to go up and under to do this. And it's this extra movement that doesn't, what happened is that on a crossbody lead, if I flash my hand like this, that's a request, right?
Yeah.
What I noticed that people are starting in class holding on to both hands. We never did that. I don't ever advocate that. That's not how you start dancing. That's how you start double Dutch. That's double Dutch, right? That's not how you hold a partner to start dancing Latin dance. Where do you see that in Cuba in the Palladium? Nobody's ever holding anybody like this. That started recently, right?
How recent?
Go back to the 2011, maybe 2012, 13.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah, like we were this thing with both hands. So our thing is we always had a starting position only connected here. You have an open position only connected here, and you have a closed position where you're connected with both. This doesn't exist. I have to earn the hand. I have to learn how to ask for a hand in a position that lets my partner know exactly where I'm going, right? If I ask palm up, low, they know they're getting wrapped. The second I flip my hand over and ask for it, they don't have to give me the hand yet. They don't have to do the turn. You're getting wrapped, right? That bottom hand is going to stay connected and be wrapped behind their back, right? Just by this presentation, they know exactly what's happening. If I want that hand and I'm going to go up high, I ask for it over the shoulder. They give it to me here. They do the turn. I don't even have to hardly lift my hand, right? I don't grab their hand. I don't start with that hand. I have to learn how to, right? There's a hand wiggle that happens when you're doing the basic step. There's a locomotive hand wiggle that's very particular to salsa, right? Where you wiggle, you do crossbody lead, and on 5, 6, 7, you wiggle the hand before doing a turn, right? That hand wiggle is what we call a locomotive hand wiggle. It's your arms countering your step in normal locomotion. When you're moving, that hand wiggle is following the step you're taking, right? So when I'm going to switch this hand to this hand, I don't just switch whenever. I switch on 5 when I'm stepping with that side, and the hand wiggle
leads into
goes right over.
It has to make
that
sense,
side.
basically. Yeah.
Wow.
On 1, I can flip it back. On 5, I flip it back this way, right? I don't just go whenever the hell I want. If I ask for a hand on 1 or I elevate a hand on 1, it means that there's not going to be multiple turns, because I'm losing the structural, the leverage in the structure of the follows progression. I lose them being able to do more than a 1-2 pivot thing, right? If I lift the hand on 7, when they're finishing the back rock, now there is leverage for them to turn multiple times. They turn 1 on 1s. They hit the 2 in front of me. They turn once or twice more after that, and they land perfectly. Footwork is perfect for 5, 6, 7 to go back, right? If I try to do that on 1 and then try to jam them into turns, I have to muscle that, right? And that's where we get into, if I'm muscling my partner into doing things, there's no need for communicative skill, because I'm just going to force them into whatever anyway, right? I don't have to communicate anything, because I'm going to wrap, like you're getting wrapped whether you like it or not. I don't work that way. I am giving a signal, and then my partner's responding to my signal, because that's another musician that I'm jamming with in this song. That's not my instrument. I'm not playing them, right? I don't force them to do anything. We're jamming and I'm communicating, and they all see where you're going, boom, and they do their part of the song, so I can then take us somewhere else possibly, and they boom, right? I'm just a band leader, right? I'm telling the guys, all right, ready now, 2 bars, 5, 6, and we change, boom, right?
You know what I realized? Oh God, like it's crazy how just rewatching our videos, really archaic to me videos of you start popping up on YouTube.
I know,
like from 2007 or something, and I remember like that kind of hit me where you were talking about, I guess someone interviewed you at a Congress or something,
right?
And you're like, you know what? I'll tell beginners, like, listen to your follows, like really like pay attention to like how they're acting, and like that kind of hit me. And you had a different haircut. It was like maybe 20 years ago, but that just got hit me. Like, holy shit.
We're all follows first.
Yeah.
Nobody teaches that you are the lead follow concept is there's states of being that are in flux. It's not static. You don't lead. You're not a lead all the time. You never are, right? You always have to respond to information. I have to see what result I get from that. Goes for combat. That goes for whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can't just shoot. I have to see what happened, right? Where's the threat coming from? But like you just can't be shooting your own people. You know what I mean? It's like there has to be processing of information. You're the lead when you go to a store. You're the lead. You know where you're going. You know how you're going to get there. You're in charge. Light changes in the street. You got to stop. You got to wait for the car. You're responding now to outside information. If you don't respond, you get hit by the car, right? You, right? Cops have this section blocked off. I got to go a different route. You're following, right? The cops gave you a signal, and now you respond to the signal. That's what's happening the whole time. The first thing you have to do is listen to who the hell you're dancing with. That person's not in your class. You never, even if you danced with them before, you don't know who you're dealing with in that moment, right? We used to do this thing where you same partner, you trade her off to different leads, jump in. Whenever I would do that, whenever I would get her back or them back, completely different person than the one I left off. Yeah. I have to give them a few bars to calm down. It's me you're dealing with now. They're all, because they're dealing with the other lead, they had to do different things to survive. And by the time I get them back, they're different. I can't do the same stuff now. I got to chill out first, see if they calm down. If they don't calm down, we're going in a very different direction, right? But I'm getting that information. I'm never just assuming this is what's supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. And if you can't do it, then it's something's wrong with you. No, something wrong with you that you're asking somebody. If I'm dancing with my mother, I'm not going to give her 3 turns. My mother takes 4 bars to get around once. When I lift my hand, and she half the song she does 1 turn. Yeah, I can't try to turn her. Mom's going to turn as fast as mom turns. That's it. I can't. That's not up to me, right? I asked the question. That's the answer I get. It's an interview, right? I can't ignore the answer and ask a question that has nothing to, like, I have to get the answer and go, oh, that's interesting. So you're saying, and it takes me in a new direction, I mean, it's these things I think are obvious, but they're not. It's like, man, are they not? Like they're what is intuitive to people in an engagement where 2 bodies are connected is usually very different than what it ends up being at the end of the day. And it should be, you should be kind of fumbling through that, and it should come out the other end as something refined and evolved. It shouldn't be the same thing on that end as it is on this end, right? Yeah. You hope a hamburger doesn't come back out of you the same way you put it in, right? It's like,
oh shit, I'm hungry. Yeah. Why do you think that, like, that stuff, like, for example, like even like the hand position, right? Like, why does that change? Like, do you think, let me tell you my theory, because I thought, like, that's people's excuse to kind of like insert their style.
Yeah.
And
because you think it's something that's stylistic. And whatever the style is of the day, the style that's informing people in the moment, because what bugs me is that there isn't representation of both modes of thinking anymore, right? There's very few people I see. When I see them, I bug out. Oh, look, it's just another palm downer, right? Didn't study with us, but oh shit, look, bam. Yeah. Tito Ortos, palm down. Oh snap. Dancers in Puerto Rico, palm down, right? We all were like that at one time. Now there's very little representation of this and just a bunch of this, right? And that bugs me out, right? Because back in the day, it was all over the place. People held like this, people held like this. There was all kind of different like ways people came to how they, depending on what information they got in their region about how that functioned. Sure. But we were all comfortable, man. We were all comfortable all over the world. I danced with all these people all over the world. Super fine. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I start coming back to the scene 2012, 2013. And I'm like, what is going on here? Right? Like, where did this come from? I don't know where it came from, but somebody started making that the norm. People, because what happens, right? Everybody's taking the same people to workshop.
Mm-hmm.
They see that this is how they're holding. Boom, 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 boom. It's a teacher from a guy that's the workshop, right? Keep bringing your students to the same guy. That's where I got it. Boom, boom, boom. Take a private. Do this. After a while, right? Eddie Torres dancers, all of us, right? Any Eddie Torres video you see, we're all here. This is how he would say, fellas, palm down, ladies, wrap around. That's what we got, right? Second I did that, coming from ballroom, second I did this, holy shit, what a difference, right? All of a sudden, different possibilities, different implications, primed for not being, Euro ballroom idea, completely different outlook on the thing. And yeah, I mean, you think it's simple, you think it's stylistic. That's not stylistic. Stylistic stuff is stuff you put on top of functional technique.
No, yeah, right? Yeah. What I meant is like people that's the easy. I would think that's the easy excuse. Yeah. Like, oh, like it's my style, right? And like so that's why I'm gonna change it, and that's why my hypothesis. Yeah. But
that's what the guy was trying to say. He's saying it's the choices you make, right? The stylistic choices you make, and that's dangerous. Like that the way he was thinking about it. I said, yeah, that's fine. You can be totally functional doing it the way everybody's doing it. Mm-hmm. But that's because you're functional here, right? If you ever want to go here, you're going to have to fix some of that stuff, right? Some of that stuff is going to have to change because the possibilities, right? If you want to start to deal with different possibilities, you're going to have to revisit some of these things because now your perspective, now you're functioning from this perspective, and what was acceptable here is not going to be. And so what we do is we make sure that we pepper all the perspectives with the stuff so that as you move through in whatever place you are or want to be, you can keep moving, right? This is a glass ceiling situation, right? The palm underneath is a glass ceiling situation. In other words, you're going to run into the limits of that. It's not right or wrong. It's a limited concept. It's only going to take you so far. If you want to go farther, you're going to have to fix how you interact physically with your partner, because I can analyze your dance and take all the crunchy, cringy moments, the dirty, like clumsy interactions that you're having, and circle them and say, boom, ugly moment, clumsy moment, right? You think it's cute, but if I show you my version, it's so infinitely more fluid, organic, and refined that when you compare them, there's no comparison, right? Malcolm X said that Elijah Muhammad told him, if you offer people dirty water, they have no choice, they'll drink it. But if you offer them dirty water and clean water and you give them a choice, they're always going to go for the clean water, right? If we can present both arguments and have people view them, nobody's going to, right? Like if I were to do the analysis, I can show you all the ways that is a handicap that if you fixed it, immediately your dancing is different, right? It's little things like that. There's another thing where when you recover your partner, right? If you're apart and you're turning and you want to reconnect with your partner, everybody does that in the most clumsy way possible. Like there's no finesse and there's no like gracia, right? To the way people do that, because it's such a kind of like whatever thing. You think it's a whatever thing, but if you were to clean that up, if you always recovered only with the open position hand around the waist, and you didn't touch this until the subsequent crossbody lead, which flings them from this hand to this hand to then start, you have this beautiful fluid, like casual. Nobody sees the way you're creating the magic situation. Whereas if you turn around and grab a partner by both hands in space, you look desperate, like you're worried you're not going to get them. Or if you grab them with both hands, it's not happening in context. It's not flowing out of something and back into something. It's like, and then we go again, right? It's like you're when I watch it, it's like you're stopping me from exhaling while I'm trying to exhale. You know, you're covering my mouth. I'm like, right? It doesn't make me feel like it's a flow, like you're on water. That was one of the things that used to bug me out about going out and watching dancers dance before I knew what I was doing. I would go watch them and they looked like they were on skates. You know, like there was so much movement between the two bodies, and it never, you couldn't understand how they got around each other so quickly and so fluidly, and how straight lines were making circles. And there was all this dynamic, like, you know, elastic, like ejections, and like
there's a conversation going on.
It was so nice. They were creating shapes with the bodies in space. I call those chases, you know. My partner work, you know, there are turn patterns and there are chases. The turn patterns are they go, we go, they go, we go. The chases are the effects of the two bodies moving in relation to each other in space, and the effects that we can create through those things. And that's the sophisticated stuff. The chases are the sophisticated stuff because I'm manipulating patterns of footwork so that they interact with each other in these dazzling, dynamic ways, as opposed to me worried about the arms and tying arms up and asking for hands through my legs or under my arm, or these stupid ways that I'm going to ask for a hand, which if I stop you and take a picture of you, you look terrible, right? There's nothing cute about it. The follows are all like they're being twisted into, if you just watch the follow, you see them, they look like they're having a chiropractic session, right? It's like they're in, if you just crop the lead out and just watch the follow, if you crop their upper bodies out and watch their legs, take the music out, show their feet to anyone and ask them if that's what dance is that. You would never be able to tell. I don't know what dance this is. I just see feet moving, right? There's no rhythmical structure to the way they're moving. The feet are they're just putting their feet wherever they need to in order to facilitate the craziness that they're doing. And if it's working properly, I should be able to crop you out. I should be able to crop your upper body, and I should see the language. I should see it, you know? Right. But we're very good at distracting from all that stuff with the smoke screens, ninja stuff, you know. Ninjas, you know, it's all illusion. Bam, I smoke screen, I run, wearing a mask. It's all Wizard of Oz stuff.
Oh shit! I don't know. I'd like most of my phone storage is just a shitload of turn patterns I see from Instagram. All these reels, I'm like, now for sure. Before I go to bed, I'm gonna watch like all your social dance videos. And
just watch. If you watch the little partner work things that I post from classes, like these little partner work things, you just get a feel for the way these things move, and like you look at them, you see the difference right away. A lot of times in social dances, you know, I have to do things that are, you know, I'm dealing with somebody who's not operating at that level, and I have to manage it in a different way, and it's free flow. But when you see the compositions in class, the little things that I post where I'm dancing with a partner in class, those things, you really get a sense for how I conceive of the dance as a whole and how I teach it and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I gotta pee, man, so bad.
No, yo, you can go. You can go anytime you want. But
man,
yeah. You want wrapping up, or we're at 3.5 hours?
Man,
yeah.
I expected to. I didn't think we'd go.
Yeah. No, it's cool. Like, no,
it's awesome, man.
We should. Let's wrap it up. And I'll say that I feel like, first of all, like again, thank you for coming and doing it again. Really? Especially, you're a wealth of knowledge where it's just like, damn, like you really do need a podcast where just for you to riff off. And then a lot of times, I don't know, like it's weird where we're at in this position where we're interviewing, because like
You like really
like,
want to. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so much for me to like just
Yeah.
like even like conceive of like the information. Then how do I facilitate like the best that we can do for the viewer to like take what they can from it.
Right.
I think it also kind of like for example, right now, like talking about these just hand positions, like it sounds so stupid to talk about, but it's like
our brains are blown.
Like my brain is just like, it's like what the heck? But it's like the conversations themselves like will produce other conversations. So it's like if you have your own like place where you can talk about these things, and like I think I see a lot of artists like that are doing the same thing, that they're like they're attempting or trying, but it's like they'll do like small format like chunks on Instagram, and like it's information that sometimes like is much more useful than me seeing like a bunch of turn patterns that like what I can try to like see or try to mimic that, but it's like if I don't know the concepts behind that, it's like what am I gonna really gain out of it besides just like
that stuff is I call them collectionists, people that are collecting
moves
stuff. It doesn't change your level of dancing. It doesn't inform you and allow you to push to new levels of being a dancer. It doesn't make you a good dancer. It just means you have more stuff that you're doing at the same level that you're doing everything else. And just even as an educator, that isn't really doing the trick. I used to say when I was young that the dancers in Puerto Rico, because their repertoire was much less than ours in New York, because their syllabus was so much shorter than ours, they had more time to sit with stuff, with steps, and really get into them and really stylize them and repeat them to a way that they became personal. Whereas we were trying to do 100 different heel toe to heel twists, syncopated jammies, like 1,000 steps. And all I'm doing is executing these steps, trying to remember them. But the refinement of stuff isn't happening. There's just too much. There's too much there to deal with, And so, I used to say that all the time. Like back in the day, there's an old documentary called Frankie's Mambo that they did of me. They followed the company for about 4 years when we were starting out.
Is that on YouTube?
I think it might be on YouTube. It was on PBS. There were people that would see it. Like the guy at my gym was like, I was watching you on TV. It aired for a while.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's called Frankie's Mambo, El Ritmo Diablo. And it's like us starting out. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Somebody told me they were just watching it in Chicago. They were like, we were sitting watching you. So it's out there. Okay. They catch me. I'm sitting at home. My mother's cooking. My mother's like there, and they're interviewing me, and I'm watching this old Palladium footage, and I'm talking about this same thing. They didn't have a lot of information, and so the stuff they did do, they do with such soul and with such like intentionality, and it's just much more deeply understood because they're not collecting a bunch of craziness.
We talked to in New York SBK, we talked to Talal, how he was talking about how he's Moroccan, but he moved to Brussels, and back when he started catching the salsa bug, all he had was like a VHS type of some choreo or some performance, and that was all he had to work with. He was like, he studied that. He was just it. All right, this is all I got.
That's it.
And that's just nuts that like maybe sometimes less is more.
Yeah. Or they always say that. There's a Japanese school of swordsmanship that's called the One Cut School.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they do that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys, but it's meditation, right? And God forbid you come across one of these dudes in a
like they're lethal, that capacity. Right?
Yeah. Forget it. You're getting cut down no matter what you try to do, and, talking about versatility and like, oh, you're not versatile, bro. These people are fluid as it comes, man. And it's because you dig so deep into one thing. In Zen, they say the entire night sky is reflected in a dewdrop.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know what that means.
Let's process real quick.
I'm like, I don't know what that means.
In other words, in a single thing, you find the truth about all things. And in all things, you find the truth about a single thing, right? That like you can find maximum truth through one single avenue, right? You don't have to do 100 different,
There's a self-help book in it, but that's the only thing I can think about. It's literally called The One Thing. It's like even the first like 10 sentences about like an African runner who ran away from warlords, like tearing his country apart. And he became really fucking good at running.
Yeah.
And then he made it to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And like he made a living like running.
Right.
And it's just from like, okay, I'm just gonna run for survival. And that was like an example where like his life became shaped by the one thing, which is running. It's like nuts.
If you have mastered something to that degree, it doesn't matter how much stuff like you're gonna get blown up by that.
Right.
Like, it's just how things work. It's not how we see things nowadays in pop culture, but there was a time where people would say, stick to something, be a master of something, don't jump around. It was in movies, it was in, t-shirts. Now it's like jump around, keep jumping around, don't jump around. It's like this everything is jump around. And it's cool, but like I said, I'm always wondering, everybody takes these things at face value as universal truths. And it's weird to me that we don't have people on the other side contradicting that. There's no representation for the alternate viewpoint. And when one person comes up saying that, everybody's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? And it's like, can't one person say, hey, right? Like this is important for you, but it's not the only thing that can be important.
Right.
We can see things a little more deeply. Oh, really? It's like, if it's outside of what everybody's comfortable with in terms of like social media, pop culture, forget it. It's like everybody's in an uproar. And I just feel like, man, there used to be a time where you had people that were in different camps and different ways of thought, and they believed it because they believed, and they had their reasoning. And now it's like, oh my God, if you come from that direction, it's like, but I always call my advanced students knuckleheads. I will say, like, this is what we're doing. And then I'll say, for the knuckleheads, you can actually add this extra little, and they're always, well, why do you call us knuckleheads? And I'm like, because you're in that but stage, right? Where you think you get it. And but didn't you say, like, they start to think they get it, and they start to challenge you, and they start to and you have to start to kind of like get them to realize they're going through a phase, the but phase. But I get that a lot, like, but, and it's not, you let people come around, like, people have to be at the level of understanding where they become curious about things like that in a deeper sense. And not everybody's there. It's not for everyone. And again, that doesn't invalidate it. It just lets you know that when you do become curious about something more, I'm just dropping this little thing for you, right? It's not
setting it up.
It's just to let you know there's more. That's all it is. You don't have to conform. You don't have to change. You don't have to feel stupid about what you're doing. Understanding is understanding. And we're all here to get better, I hope. And hopefully I can help that a little bit by planting a little seed that one day when you get curious, you'll go, oh shit, this is what he was talking about. Yeah. And man, thank goodness I heard that then, because nobody else is saying
Same thing what you were saying last time. Well, I wasn't there, but like what you were saying last time, that like your karate sensei, that he would like, set these lessons for you, but like, you didn't know it in the moment, and then like 10 years later you're like, oh, that's
you get it.
How deep is that?
Fuck.
How deep is that? That's so dope. Like, that's a movie for me. It's a fantasy for me. Like that to see something like that is like, oh, that would be such a great moment in a movie where you're like, boom, there it is. The example hits you right in the face of something that was planted so long ago, and you just get a little smirk from your teacher when you try to ask them to embellish, and they kind of, you'll see, it's like, that's a beautiful thing, man. I growing up, I couldn't wait to be the master, to be the one helping people that way, And by the time I got to that place, nobody cared anymore, you know?
I think people do. We talked about this.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think going like to wrap it up, because we do have to. There was a quote where
It was 40 minutes ago.
I forgot who the philosopher was, but they talked about how like sometimes when we're tired, which we probably all are right now,
Yeah.
but when we're tired, we end up defaulting to old modes of thought
Right.
that maybe we've conquered already. And it's just because of like lack of rest, because we all have like certain predispositions to think a certain way.
Certainly,
Yeah. So I think that's that, because I did catch that where you're like, okay, you did repeat yourself where we came to a point last conversation where you're like, oh, I feel like, you know, Jose is kind of like that too, where he's a very deep thinker, and I understand, like, I like to think I am too, but I noticed that when you say, oh, like, you know, I'm trying to just put little nuggets out there to offer different points of view. And the entire time, maybe the last 10 minutes, I was thinking to myself, like, as I started social dancing, it was this first endeavor, I guess it's endeavor where I realized for most of my life, I would view people very shallowly. And maybe, I don't know how much of it is like social conditioning or how much of it is like my nature. But as I'm doing these interviews and podcasts, like, or just having hour-long conversation with friends and family, I realize I do crave that deep connection.
Yeah.
But initially, even now, I'm trying to like really be present when I see people who've been dancing forever and like they say hi, and I'm just like, not gonna lie, there's a new girl and she's kind of cute, and I kind of talk to her. I'm just like, why the fuck am I doing this to like my good friends? And like they can tell, like, well, okay, Will's like getting distracted by a new shiny object, and I guess that's just the human side of me. But like, yeah, it's true.
It's not the right words, dude. But yeah,
it's not the right words. But like, as long as the point comes across, and I realize, fuck, like how, like the same way that I crave deep connection all the time, all the opportunities for me to connect with people, I did not take that opportunity to establish that.
Right.
Yeah, and I find that contradicting within myself. Like, I crave deep connection so much, but like there are a lot of times where if it's convenient for me, I'll do it, and then I'll chase my highs, my degeneracy or whatever, and then I'll feel like I'm lacking. And I think that ties back to what you're saying about like people are just doing a billion different things when they can just focus on one thing. And I'm sure you're not saying that don't do other things. No, give it time and like marinate in it, and like more information, more value will come out just focusing on one thing. And I definitely,
or the beauty of things, like the depth of things. It doesn't have to be one thing, because you can spend 10 years on something and still have 10 years just to you have time. We have time to do things. Like I said, I do art and you know, but it's like to get to like really to get the value from these things.
It takes a little bit of time, and it's okay.
For sure. Like, and that's fine. Like, what else are you gonna be doing? What are you doing?
And I will say, like, a possible I guess like explanation that I'm coming up with is it's uncomfortable to have depth and like reflection, because even whether it's dance or like reflecting on yourself, it's just sitting with a thought and trying to look past or look deeper into something. It takes effort. It takes energy, time, and like sometimes it's like
it makes you feel small.
And like it's uncomfortable. So like it's easy being shallow because like I'll just take 10 different dance styles or lessons, because like now I don't have to really struggle. I just got to go through the social or the class before the social and just repeat that turn pattern for the rest of the night. And hopefully like I could just like get by. And
no, like I said, I get it, you know, like I get it. I totally get it. I you know,
it's like being sedated.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and I do that with other things, like definitely. Right. I engage in other things in very passive, comfortable, superficial, because that's how I want them in my life, because I got even dance wasn't my deep thing. Dance was me blowing off steam from the seriousness of martial arts and Zen. It was like, there was my time to have fun and to be silly. And it became serious later. I think if somebody was serious with me right off the bat, they would have scared me right away. You know, but like I get it. I totally get it. And again, I'm not saying anybody's wrong for doing that. I'm just it's just a little strange to me that this voice isn't more like there isn't
more prevalent.
Yeah, that it's not more prevalent that people are just talking about the depth of it, because there are tons of people that have been doing these things for a long time and do want depth, and they think that this is a big shallow world that's full of shit because there's nobody representing anything more substantial.
Yeah.
And so, I'll be that person. I'm fine. If people think that, oh man, I can't deal with this dude, it's fine. It's okay. Like I feel the same way about.
I think the feeling is mutual. But no, I think it's just that, like the way society is set up, like we used to have to struggle for everything. And look at how comfortable society is. So like on a deeper scale, it's like, fuck, like if you're just telling people to commit to something, it's like, fuck, like I can't just like go to a class and figure this out. Like within a class, like I got to dedicate like.
No, you got time. You got time to play. You got time. It'll happen. It's a natural thing. I don't believe in forcing anything, like you have to have that calling and get that curiosity. I always kind of deal with students in a fun way until they start to ask the questions, and I can tell they're starting to need something more deep. And when that starts to happen, it's there for you, and I'm on it, and even that you take it at a pace so that they can grow into it. It's not, like I said, you hit people coming in the door with that stuff, and it's like, you don't know why. Everybody comes for a certain reason to the dance.
They stay
it's usually not the reason they stay, right? Yeah. It's always a different reason that brings you than the reason you end up staying. And if you really end up staying, you end up with another iteration of what's happening to you, and you have to, like, people got to go through that, and
that reason keeps on changing. Like the more you grow and the more you learn,
and you change in the process, which is like, I think like was daunting for me, like just starting out learning how to dance and just like being very surface level, chasing girls like Jose says. But now, like, as I'm trying to take it serious for myself, I think the scary thing is like, how long is it going to take before like I get to like the benchmarks that I deem worthy for me to like strive towards? And like, I guess like that's like a different mental hurdle that I'm trying to get through. You
have to get one or two of those benchmarks to realize you're going to be setting those benchmarks are going to exist for the rest of your life. And it doesn't really matter which ones you hit, because you're going to keep
making new ones, probably
new ones, and you keep moving. And after a while, you stop worrying about the benchmarks, and you're just worried about moving in the right direction, and that starts to, like I always say, infinity is the possibility, then we're all at zero, and it's like, it doesn't really matter what degree of zero we're at, it doesn't matter that I understand what I understand, because there's so much possible. And the better you get, the smaller you feel, because the more vision you have about what's possible, and the further away you realize you are, whereas somebody who doesn't really know how far they can go, they think they get it like in 2 years, it's like, and that's a fun place to be, man. And because when you start realizing, oh shit, we're 70,000 light years from the nearest star. Oh my God.
No, I think I resonate with that. And like, just shout out to Ed. Like, I really like his, we're going to shoot for 4 hours. Cause like, I needed the even number.
You two have the exact same thing.
I know.
Like, you start talking and then he starts talking.
Yeah.
You guys
know. We will for sure cut it at 4. It's 7 minutes.
I'm sinking into my seat, trying to get closer to the bathroom.
I know. No, definitely go if you need to. But like, no, just like, I love how like, I know. But like, it's so cool that I guess like with Ed, the way he like motivates and like pushes us, it's like he treats it like a sport where on surface level people are like, this is abusive, but like I like that, because like it's like with any endeavor, like as you kind of like, if you're struggling with something, it's uncomfortable, but when you're at your wit's end, you're like, I fucking hate this. Like, I feel like that's where like you discover more about yourself, like who you truly are. But it's only after that shit you got to eat. And I don't know. I still struggle with just like comparison. I'm sure a lot of people do. I think that's frustrating. But at some point, like, you do want to. No, I guess like most people. I guess I'll just end it with this. So you mentioned Kaizen. So it's it leads to like trajectory where like you're in the right direction, right? And at some point, it doesn't even matter about the goal. It's like, okay, are you in the right direction where you want to be? Then you just keep taking that path, and then wherever you end up, you end up.
And there is no end up. When do you end up? Like,
you don't.
You just.
But you want to be in a direction. You don't want to be like stagnant.
You don't want to be just floating around. I mean, it's. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe that
Sure.
that there's plenty of people that's their reality. But I mean, there's that opportunity. It exists. It's there. You can pursue that because it's life. Like you do it because you do it, not because. That's what I mean by like practice enlightenment is like you do it because that's what you do, not because it's going to bring you anywhere, but you just do it and you are going.
And that's enough.
But you're not worried about it. Like you just do it and you keep evolving. You don't even notice it. You look back 2 years and you go, oh my God, I was in a different place. But it's just, you do your thing, right? You wake up, you do your forms, boom, 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 you go. You go to class, you get better, but you just keep going to class. You just keep going, you keep practicing and you change. But the change isn't the reason why you go. You go because you just go because you love it.
Yeah.
And on that note,
Idle TV power off.
Holy shit. That only pops up after like 5 hours or something.
And on that note, we're going to close.
Yeah, we're going to close
right.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And,
appreciate it.
Yeah, watch everything and like, comment, subscribe, and get Frankie to start his own social media.
It's happening. It's happening. Don't worry.
Yeah, all you do.
All right.
Yeah.
And P break.
Thank you guys.
We're out.
All right. Bye.